Welcome to the Sherdog Radio Network preview for UFC 322, Della Maddalena versus Makhachev. I'm your host, Ben Duffy of Sherdog.com, and with me, as usual, is Keith Schillen, the executive producer of the Sherdog Radio Network. Keith, how you doing today?
I'm doing excellent, man. We've been spending week after week digging into some some pretty weak cards. Now we got one of the biggest cards of the year, so I'm super excited. So how you doing?
I am doing great, and for really the same reasons you mentioned. We're coming into this on, the UFC just spent 2 weekends at the Apex that on paper, they were some of the thinnest cards of the year, and we ended up with talking points coming out of those for all the wrong reasons. The still unfolding gambling / fight fixing scandal that is the story of the year, but it's not the reason you want to be talking about a UFC card after the fact. And we've gotten to the point, we of course preview every UFC card, and we do our best to be honest about the merits or lack of merits thereof. And it's gotten to the point where some people in the comment section for our last couple previews have given us a little bit of heat for crapping on some of these fight night cards. But you know what? The flip side is, when I tell you that I don't know if this is the best UFC card of the year on paper, but it's probably the one I'm most excited for, I'm not blowing smoke. Because if this card was bad, or even if it was just bad for a pay-per-view, I'd tell you. But here's the thing, and I'm not going to put you on the spot and say, okay, let's compare this one to UFC 318 fight by fight, which is the better card. But just the fact that we have 2 champ versus champ super fights, the first card in UFC history where 2 sitting champs have put aside their belts and moved up to challenge the champ in the next weight division on the same card. It's historic. It's the fights themselves are compelling. Like each fight has a favorite, and for a reason, but you can see routes to victory for both fighters. It's 4 of the best fighters in the sport right now, pretty much at the top of their game. It's at worst 2 of the 5 or 6 greatest women ever to do mixed martial arts, probably.
Sure. This card's
this card, it's ridiculously good.
The only thing that's not keeping an A+ for me is that it doesn't have a crossover, someone that really gets the casual people talking, Conor McGregor, Ronda Rousey,
a Patty, a Colby.
Yeah, I get excited when other people get excited too. So, that's the only thing it's missing. There's no one going to say anything controversial, or really, no one's going to go on the at the press conference and really get the crowd going. So, other than that, it's got everything else. I mean, it's got prospects, it's got number 1 contender matchups, it's got bounce back fights, they got former champions hanging on, so this card's, and then you obviously, as you mentioned, you have the 2 top fights, two fighters trying to put themselves in historic conversations. I mean, you have in the co-main event, you have 2 Mount Rushmore fighters in the women's MMA going against each other.
Yeah,
that alone is rare.
Yes, it's 2 fighters who, and obviously we'll preview Shevchenko versus Zhang in detail when we get to it, but it's 2 women where if Zhang wins, she has probably secured her place on the Mount Rushmore. She's probably a top 4 fighter of all time. If Shevchenko wins, she's angling for number 1. I think it's hard to call her any worse than the second greatest female fighter of all time at this point.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
If she picks up another historic pound for pound scalp like Zhang, it's time. It'll be an interesting recap. We'll be talking about, what are Amanda Nunes' greatest? You know what I'm
Yeah.
This is a card where obviously any random fight night can give you an all-timer of a highlight.
Sure.
It can give you a Showtime kick type moment, but in terms of historical importance, there are some fights on this card where we might be saying after the fact, do you remember where you were when? And that kind of thing.
Yeah. And I mean, not that this is a big factor, but add in Madison Square Garden, add in New York City, everything's bigger. I mean, when you're in Times Square and there's a billboard and it's Islam Makhachev and Jack Della Maddalena, it feels bigger. It's New York City. It's the most famous city in the world. I don't know if that's true, but I said it.
It's definitely up there. Madison Square Garden, considering that MMA was only legalized in New York in what, 2014, 2015, something like that. Yeah. It has become to MMA what it has been to boxing for, 50 or 60 years.
Yeah, so I'm kind of the Northeast guy for sure, dog. If the UFC's in the Northeast and I'm willing to travel a little bit, Boston, New York, maybe, I don't know, Buffalo maybe or something like that. I'll go to a card. I get to go to the New York card every year, and it just feels special. It's different than when I go to the Boston cards or something like that. It's special.
I believe it. Like 100%. I would, that's a bucket list thing for me as a fan, let alone a media member, would be to go to a UFC card or a big boxing card at Madison Square Garden. Yeah, absolutely. This is a question I ask you. I try to remember to ask you every time. I think I already know what the answer is because you recorded a short clip for Sherdog between the last time I talked to you and now, but outside, and you know what, not even outside of the main and co-main event, outside of the 5-fight main card, what matchup are you most looking forward to on this one?
So I'm going to give you two answers, and I thank you for. I've been starting to do a little like short videos just for fun, working on my editing skills and trying to, I don't know, just do a little different. We do 3-hour shows. I'm like, it'd be fun to do like 90-second videos. So check that out. There's my very first one is on short, and guys, I'm totally doing it from start to finish. I'm editing it, so bear with me. That's not, you guys know that's not my skills, but I'm trying to improve it. But make sure you like that. I threw it on Instagram, which I don't even use Instagram. And then I have another YouTube channel called Keith Schillen MMA. I just started, so like, subscribe to all that. Not change anything I do for Sure Dog. There's just like extra fun thing I want to do on the side. Kind of like making myself more sane, not doing like super in depth, just kind of having some fun. But the first one that stands out to me is a fight that I've been waiting for a rematch for, I think it's 7 years now, and that's Erin Blanchfield versus Tracy Cortez. I think the first fight was super close. I actually gave it to Blanchfield. I've said that on this many times, but it's a very, very close fight. And then the stakes are even higher now. So that's one that I'm really excited. Then I'll be like a little hardcore for you. I'm going to go way down. How about Malcolm Wellmaker versus it's Cody Haddon? Yeah, that fight is a banger. That is a really, really good fight. So those are probably the two I'm really looking forward to. And then obviously Bo Nickal.
Yeah, I mean, and I love both those. And in the case of the Wellmaker fight, it's a bit of addition by subtraction because it was Malcolm Wellmaker versus Serhiy Sidi, which, I mean, that was a good fight, period. But I felt as though, okay, this is a test for Wellmaker. Whereas Wellmaker versus Haddon, I'm like, this is kind of a test for both guys. Like Wellmaker's going to get the shine just because his highlight reel has a little more sizzle. He has the 0 in the loss column, but Cody Haddon is 8-1. He won his UFC debut. And for all we know, he has just as much upside. Like he looks like a fantastic fighter as well. So I love that one. I mean, dude, Pat Sabatini versus Chepe Mariscal is like third from the bottom.
Yeah, this guy's loaded.
That fight is sick. Like really under the radar on a card like this. Absolutely. Like here's the thing. It's on the prelims, but I understand why it's on the prelims.
Sure.
There is no fat to trim from this 5-fight main card. So yeah, you've got basically a fringe contenders fight in one of the UFC's 3 best divisions deep in the prelims. Like this card is legit.
Blanchfield and Cortez could be the number 1 contender matchup in the prelims.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good stuff. Any other general thoughts about this one before we dive in? I mean, we got 14 fights to talk about.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. First up at UFC 322, at least as the card is constituted as of the beginning of fight week, is a lightweight matchup between Vyacheslav Borshchev and Matheus Camilo. Borshchev, the 33-year-old Russian-American training out of Sacramento, is 8-6-1 overall. He's 3-5-1 since joining the UFC out of Season 5 of Dana White's Contender Series. He has lost 2 straight and 3 of his last 4. We saw him most recently at UFC 317 back in June, where he got tapped out in under a minute by Terrence McKinney. Got guillotined, 55 seconds, it was over. Borshchev, looking to bounce back, looking to get closer to 500 in the UFC. The same can be said for his opponent, Camilo. Brazilian is 9-3 overall, 0-1 in the UFC. He made his debut at UFC Fight Night Burns versus Morales back in May, where he got tapped out in the second round by Gabe Green. Odds on this one are fairly close. Keith, back by popular demand, I am going to be quizzing you about the odds. We've had multiple people say they missed that feature of the show. Your favorite is -165, underdog plus 145. Who are they?
Yeah, I do enjoy when you actually give me the lines than if I have to guess them, because I am way off. I would rather, if I was guessing blindly, just saying like, this is what I would put it as, not what it's, because I know it's always bigger than I think it should be.
Yeah. Then that's what we do.
I will say Borshchev is the favorite.
It is actually Camilo. Matheus Camilo, -165. Slava Borshchev, plus 145. At this point, I think it is fair to say that Slava Borshchev is a disappointment. Like, he came to the UFC obviously with a certain amount of hype just because he looked really good on the Contender Series. Like, he iced Chris Duncan, which, I mean, has aged pretty well. Hell, Duncan has become a better UFC lightweight than Borshchev by several wide notches. But since arriving, yeah, he's 3-5-1. The people he's beaten are 2 of the 3 people he's beaten are gone. Like Dakota Bush and James Yontop are gone, and Meerschaert is just kind of puttering along. And the other people he's fought, he's lost every which way you possibly could. Like, he's gotten tapped out by grapplers, he's gotten outstruck by strikers. Just, he doesn't have what it takes to make his particular type of kickboxing game work against decent MMA fighters. Like, you know, he's an experienced, decorated kickboxer, but it's just not worked yet against UFC level lightweights. And I think that spells bad news against Camilo. Camilo is younger, bigger, rangier. Ironically, considering that Borshchev is the guy that arrived in the UFC after a crazy knockout on the Contender Series, I think Camilo's a harder hitter. And I think Camilo can probably take Borshchev down if he wants. So if he's getting something he doesn't like on the feet, I think he can get his hands on Borshchev and either just clinch, beat him up there, kind of defuse whatever situation he was getting in on the feet, or just take Borshchev down, where he's shown himself just not really to have developed his game there. Like, kind of ironically, for a guy who's been at Team Alpha Male for several years now, this isn't one of the wider lines on the card, but to me, it's one of the more straightforward fights to pick. I think Camilo handles Borshchev pretty easily. Give me Camilo by second round TKO here. I think he's going to give as good as he gets on the feet. And if he hurts Borshchev in the second round, I think he follows him to the ground, finishes it there, or we might just see him take Borshchev down and pound him out. But I'm pretty confident in this one. I have not typically been doing lock of the night type things like Keith does, but for fights where there isn't like a 3-1 or 5-1 favorite, where the line is even remotely close, this is one of the ones that I'm most confident in.
Nice. Even with me saying that Borshchev is the favorite. Usually when I go who's the favorite, if I'm not sure, I usually go like who I think the bigger name is, and I kind of give the bigger name the favorite. And, you know, Borshchev was a guy that he did come in with some pretty good buzz when he first came to the UFC. And when he's been good, he's been spectacularly good. You know, yeah. Obviously he is a really good striker, you know, or really decorated striker, I should say. You know, former K1 champion. He likes to switch stances. He's, you know, he's a Muay Thai style because he stands tall directly in front of his opponents. Fast hands, explosive, accurate, works behind a good jab, follows with some hard, tight hooks. I like that he works the body. You mentioned his win over Dakota Bush. That was some of the best body work you'll see in the game. He's good at slipping his head off the center line and then countering with his own shots. So like he obviously likes to throw down in the pocket. He has good power, hard kicks. He likes to kick the calves. One issue I have is his chin. His chin might be shot though. He's been hurt a lot. He's been dropped a lot. He's been KO'd a lot. He's also open to calf kicks himself. Like go back to like the Chris Duncan fight. Duncan dropped him with calf kicks. He's a terrible offensive wrestler, and he's an even worse defensive wrestler. He is absolutely clueless on the ground. Camilo, the thing I like about him, he's only 24 years old, so I love that. He was supposed to fight before the fight got canceled, so a lot of my notes are very similar to what I said last time. But despite him losing to Gabe Green, I actually thought he looked pretty good. He likes to work from space, does struggle to kind of keep the space. He hated the pressure from his opponent in Dana White's Contender Series fight. But he's a good boxer, also a bit of a stationary target, so he stands directly in front of his opponent, something we might see against Borshchev. Uses a lot of feints. He can have a little bit too low output, way too many single strikes. I like that he works the body, though. He has nice power. That's because he really steps into his shots. Sometimes he can even overthrow his shots. I like his calf kicks. He can sneak in a takedown, but I definitely wouldn't categorize him as a wrestler. But you don't really have to be a wrestler to take down Borshchev. He's a weak defensive wrestler himself, struggles to get off the bottom, but he has 2 submission wins. And he was tossing up subs against Gabe Green, almost caught Gabe Green in a submission. So this fight was just added, so I had to scramble quickly to look at this one. I'm not very high on either guy. I still favor Borshchev on the feet, despite not trusting his chin. I think Camilo has the advantage on the ground. You're very confident, Camilo. I'm not very confident, but the fact that I know that he has an advantage if he takes the fight to the ground. I could see him just being smart and doing that, beating up Borshchev on the ground. I think he actually might lock in a submission. Give me Camilo to win by second round submission.
Middleweights are up next at UFC 322 as Baisangur Susurkaev continues his assault on the division against Eric McConico. Susurkaev, the 24-year-old Chechen by way of Florida, is 10-0 as a professional. He is 1-0 since joining the UFC out of the most recent season of Dana White's Contender Series. It was pretty remarkable. He fought on the Contender Series on August 12th, made his UFC debut 4 days later at UFC 319. So he got 2 finishes in octagon-shaped enclosures within the same week in under 10 minutes of cage time. Can't ask for much more than that. He did get a couple months off after that debut win. He's back in the cage here against McConico. 35-year-old Oregonian training out of Arizona is 10-3-1 overall. He's 1-1 in the UFC. He is 0-1 at middleweight, but it's worth noting that his most recent appearance was at light heavyweight, but he and Cody Brundage are both middleweights, just happening to fight a weight class up because of the way the fight came together. But at any rate, that's his most recent cage appearance. It was back in August. He won a split decision over Brundage. That allowed him to bounce back from his TKO loss to Nursultan Ruzaboyev back in February. He's looking for his second straight win in the octagon. Keith, I meant to ask you during the intro to guess who was the biggest favorite on the card. Spoiler, the biggest favorite on the card is in this fight.
Yeah.
Your favorite is minus 900. Your underdog plus 600. Who are they, Keith?
I'm going to guess that McConico is not the favorite.
You are absolutely correct. Now, this is a step up for Susurkaev because in his UFC debut against Eric Nolan, he was like minus 1,200. So this is relatively a step towards sterner competition. I get why there's a certain amount of hype behind him. I mean, he's 24 years old. He's from Chechnya. There are certain things about his striking that make me think of Sharabullet. Just the general stance, the dexterity and the power in his kicks is sensational. He's not quite the fluid, explosive technician on the feet that Sharabullet is, though, again, he is a fantastic striker, but he has some things that Sharabullet doesn't. Namely, he's not a bad offensive wrestler and clearly knows what he's doing on the ground. McConico is, I do think he's better than he's looked in his two UFC fights. I don't think he's a top level middleweight, but you don't need to be a world beater to stick around the current iteration of the UFC middleweight division. Like spoiler, I expect him to get dusted here, but I do expect and I do hope that he sticks around because I don't think he's a bad fighter at all. He got knocked out by Nursultan Ruzaboyev, but he had his moments in that fight. Like he went toe to toe with a very, very good fighter who was a fantastic striker, obviously has uncoachable physical traits going his way. And McConico had his moments. Like he ended up getting knocked the hell out, but in the first round, he didn't look bad. And Cody Brundage isn't super high level, but I thought, you know, I did think McConico deserved to win that fight. However, this is a serious mismatch. The McConico that we've seen through his first two UFC fights, he's probably going to stand right in front of Susurkaev. He's probably going to try and exchange with him at the sort of middle distance that Susurkaev himself favors. Susurkaev seems to do his best work when he's at where he's at a range where he can nail people with kicks, especially kind of kicks up the middle, like just he has a push kick to the gut that it has led to finishes for him multiple times, but he's also able to get his hands into the equation. McConico is going to give him that, and I don't think this thing even makes it into the later stretches of the first round. Give me Susurkaev by first round knockout, and my guess would be it's within the first 3 minutes.
Yeah, this guy's got a lot of hype coming in. He's, you know, I agree with you. This probably is a step up in competition. And I'm not high on McConico. I think you might be a little higher than I am, but he's a southpaw. He was a little gun shy against Ruzabayev, which I didn't like, but he throws straight shots on the pike. He's got a good kicking game. Throws a lot of high kicks. He'll close the distance and use his size and grind in the clinch. I like he's good clinch striker. Likes knees inside. That's probably his best work. He will look for takedowns, but again, I wouldn't call him a wrestler. He's a weak defensive wrestler. He does compete in a lot of grappling competitions, though he hasn't really shown great grappling. But he's got some good back tags. He's got 3 submission wins. He was able to get off the bottom against Cody Brundage. Susurkaev, he's only 24 years old, so that's the big thing that stands out to me. Obviously, he's at the age where he can make huge leaps of improvement, and he's already, looking really good. He's a poised striker. He marches down his foe. He's a little flat-footed for me. I like to see him be on his toes a little bit more. Bit of a stationary target, stand directly in front of his opponent, very like Muay Thai style. Uses feints well to set up his shots. He also feints with his legs, which I don't think guys do enough with, which I like. Doesn't have the fastest hands, but he's technical. He's got a nice straight right. He's got good power. Good calf kicks, though he will throw him naked sometimes. I like his stepping knees. I like his teep kicks. He can close the distance and battle in the clinch. Nice knees inside. He will look for a takedown, but I wouldn't call him a wrestler. Again, I keep putting this in my notes, so I apologize for being a broken record by saying that. I gotta like think of something else to say that. I think he also needs to, if he wants to be an elite level fighter, he needs to improve his takedown defense. Again, at his age, he can. He's on top, good ground and pound, good back takes. He just subbed Eric Nolan. So I am not as high as Susurkaev as other people are. I'm not saying I'm not on him based on his age. I usually try not to make a big, bold statement with someone who's really, under 25. I'm not going to make, this guy will never be something because he has shown flashes. I don't think he's a top 10 guy right now. Like, I don't think he could hang those guys. But this is a reason why he's a negative 900 favorite. This is a pretty easy win for him. I think he's better than McConico probably everywhere other than maybe physical strength, because he still, hasn't really come into his like manpower yet. But I see him marching down McConico, landing at will. I see the fight hitting the ground and Susurkaev beating up from on top. I see him landing ground and pound, and I think he gets a finish. Give me Susurkaev. I say he wins by 3rd round TKO from ground and pound.
Featherweights take the cage next at UFC 322 as Pat Sabatini and Jose Mariscal try to separate themselves from the pack. Sabatini, the 35-year-old Pennsylvanian, is 20-5 overall. He is 7-2 since joining the UFC as the former CFFC featherweight champ. He is on a 2-fight win streak since getting knocked out by Diego Lopez almost exactly 2 years ago. He has wins over Jonathan Pierce and Joanderson Brito. The most recent of those, the Brito fight, was at UFC on ESPN, Emmett versus Murphy back in April. He is looking to make it 3 in a row here and prove that at 35, he is still a future contender in this division. In order to do so, he will need to get past Chepe. 33-year-old Chicagoland native is 18-6 with 1 no contest overall. He is a perfect 5-0 since joining the UFC back in early 2023. He's already fought once this year. It was back in March at UFC Fight Night Cop versus Almabayev, where he picked up a unanimous decision over Ricardo Ramos. He will look to make it 6 in a row, perhaps get himself off of the prelims for good. We'll see what happens, but this is one of the closest fights of the night on the books. The favorite is -130, underdog +110. Who are they, Keith?
I'm glad this fight is really close because I can see an every victory for both guys. Man, I'm these are both kind of my guys. Like I like both of them. I'm gonna say Mariscal is the favorite.
It is actually Sabatini. He is -130. Mariscal +110 on the comeback. Hey, like you said, it's a close line. Break down this fight for me. Tell me who you think wins. What the fight looks like.
Yeah. So one thing I will say, like I think the fight is close. I think if one guy wins, I don't say decisively because I think both guys can win decisively. Like the finish could be decisively, but if one guy dominates pillar to post, that should be Sabatini. He's a decent athlete. He has a karate style on the feet with this wide base. His boxing is okay. He has some decent pop in his hands because of his karate style, throw some spinning attacks. But really, a lot of his striking is just to distract to get to his entries, where he's an extremely good wrestler. Fast entries, good top control. Some of the best top control you'll see. He will stall on top, but what I've seen him, he's very he stalls without showing that he stalls. He just does just enough on top to not get stood off, but never really puts himself in risk. And that's boring, but it's also brilliant in a sense. When you watch it, you're like, wow, that's really smart. He is a submission threat. He'll hold Jamal Emmers, which has aged really well. I'm a little worried about his durability, though. He's been knocked down in the past. And what I mean by if he dominates pull the post, he just takes down the Mariscal, controls, backpacks him, and just continues that, and it really doesn't take a lot of damage. Mariscal, he's a fun fighter to watch. He fights out of both stances. He's constantly on the gas, nonstop volume. He will do some spinning attacks. He'll leap at his opponents, through some Superman punches, anything. He really wings his shots, lunging at his opponent. So he's a wild man out there. He wants a brawl. He mixes punches and kicks together well. I like his kicks to his calf, his opponent's calves. He will close the distance and battle in the clinch with some dirty boxing, but it's a different style than Sabatini. He's not stalling that. He's trying to work. He's trying to land shots. He's got a judo background. He likes upper body takedowns. He likes some foot sweeps and throws. He can shoot takedowns from the outside. Good at winning scrambles. If he's on top, mean ground and pound. If his opponent gets up, he's constantly hitting them, landing small strikes in spaces, making them work. Getting up, you're gonna eat some shots on your way up. You're gonna have to work like hell to get back up if he takes you down. He has 3 submission wins, and he doesn't stop working the entire 50 minutes. So I think this is a great fight. I expect Sabatini to have success early. I expect him to maybe take Mariscal down. I said if one guy dominates, it's Mariscal's inability to get Sabatini off of him. But I said he's going to have success early. I didn't say he's going to have success the entire 15 minutes. I don't see that happening. I think Mariscal gets taken down. He works back to his feet, and every time he's back on his feet, he's on the gas. He's pressuring. He might get taken down again. He might walk right into some reactionary takedowns, but then he's popping right back up. And he's on the gas. I think he might lose the first round, but I think he takes over and wins the last 2 rounds with volume. I think Sabatini starts slowing down with his entries, gets a little slower. Mariscal just starts putting on him big combinations. Give me Mariscal to win the decision.
I love the pick there, and let's get off to a good start here. This will be our first unanimous upset pick of the night. I'm with you in that, like, these are two underrated guys, although they might not be underrated for much longer. Just, you know, Sabatini came to the UFC right with the rest of the Renzo Gracie Philly crew when they were the hottest team in the entire sport for a year or two there. But as one of, you know, the smaller, older guys, one that had already taken some losses on the regional scene, he didn't get the same kind of attention as, well, his teammates like Sean Brady and Aaron Blanchfield that are on this card. But he's been nothing but just consistently pretty damn impressive. And yeah, he's gotten knocked out in both his UFC losses. I give him a little bit of a pass for the Damon Jackson fight. Like, you want to talk about your intangibles. Damon Jackson may have beaten anybody on the planet that night. Like, that was his Ian Freeman versus Frank Mir night, where, like, you know, his brother had like died that week. And yeah, aside from that, like, who's
I guess you kind of feel bad for Sabatini in that fight. Like, yeah, the whole world is rooting against him.
Yeah, like, even if Sabatini wins, he's like, sorry, dude. Like, yeah, like, it's a rough look. And then, yeah, he lost to Diego Lopez, who is a top 4, top 5 guy in the division. Like, I agree with you that if somebody makes it look kind of easy and straightforward, it's probably that Sabatini ends up able to take Mariscal down. Mariscal can't get up, and Sabatini has the cardio to make it happen in all 3 rounds. Like, that's one way this fight turns out. But I kind of lean your way. Like, Mariscal has just done so much better in the UFC than I expected, because he's a guy that kind of bubbled along as a good regional prospect for so many years, but every time he kind of popped up against another good prospect, he lost. I was like, okay, you know, I remember him losing to Steve Garcia. I remember him losing to Bryce Mitchell. I just thought, honestly, I thought he'd be one of those guys that just never quite made it to the UFC level, or never made it until just kind of this weird late aberration run, like a Chris Curtis type thing. But he's shown up and he's just been beating pretty good fighters consistently. And what does it is the pace he puts on people. And I think training full time and now training in Colorado has only helped him there. And I'm with you. I could see Mariscal having trouble dealing with Sabatini's wrestling and top game early, but I'm with you. I think he takes over late and maybe doesn't necessarily get the finish, doesn't leave Sabatini completely in the dust, but the second round is a swing round, and then the third round, just Sabatini's exhausted and holding on, like, just, you know, shooting bad, sloppy doubles from too far away, while Mariscal just kind of pieces him up. Give me Mariscal by decision as well. Strawweights take the cage next at UFC 322 as Angela Hill tries to stop the rise of Fatima Kline. Hill, the 40-year-old Marylander by way of San Diego, is 18-15 overall. She is 13-15 across 2 separate stints in the UFC. She joined the promotion for the first time out of season 20 of The Ultimate Fighter, which of course inaugurated the division in the first place. She left the UFC, went and won the Invicta Strawweight Championship, was brought back, and she is 12-13 this time. And she is coming in off a loss. She fought most recently at UFC on ESPN Dolidze versus Hernandez back in August, where she dropped a unanimous decision to Yasmin Lucindo. Having failed to stop the rise of one young prospect, she gets the same draw again in the form of Kline. 25-year-old New Yorker, yet another CFFC champ on this card, 8-1 overall, 2-1 since joining the UFC as the outgoing Cage Fury Fighting Championships 115-pound title holder. She is on a 2-fight win streak, and it is worth noting that her UFC debut was at 125 pounds against Yasmin Yazdavicius. So not just out of her preferred weight class, but against a top 10 contender who happens to be a big bully of a woman for the division. Since being back in her proper weight class, she has 2 TKO wins over Victoria Dudakova back in January and Melly Martinez, whom she faced at UFC on ESPN Lewis versus Teixeira in July. So looking for her 3rd straight win, looking to announce her presence as not just a prospect, but maybe a contender already in this division. Keith, I'll quiz you on this one. The favorite is minus 475. The underdog plus 350. Who are they?
Okay. Maybe we should. Maybe I should guess the lines instead, because I thought this was a pickup fight. So, based on what you said, Kline is that big of a favorite.
Kline is definitely that big of a favorite,
but this shouldn't be. It
shouldn't be. And here's the thing: like, Kline is the real deal. Like, I don't have any faith that like Angela Hill's going to magically get back into the title picture, whereas Fatima Kline probably is going to be a contender at some points in the next few years. But she's also exactly the kind of prospect that Angela Hill has been handing split decision losses to for like literally 10 years now. Like, we joke, semi-joke, semi-seriously say that we're kind of tired of previewing Angela Hill fights, but for what it's worth, it's not Hill's fault, because she keeps winning just enough to stay in the UFC. She hasn't reinvented herself since she was in Invicta, but she's done modest work to shore up her deficiencies. And even though she's 40, like, it's not like her physical attributes have fallen off a shelf. Like, she's just hanging in there as the eternal gatekeeper of this division. And again, if you line up the list of hot up-and-coming prospects in the strawweight division that she either gave a miserable fight to or just flat out beat on their way up, it's a pretty impressive list of scalps for a woman who's under 500 in the UFC right now. Like Lupi Godinez, Denise Gomez, go all the way back to Loma Lookboonmee. Just it's tough to write off Hill. And someone in Kline that is going to need to kind of beat Angela Hill at an Angela Hill fight to get her hand raised. It is a little surprising that she's almost a 5-1 favorite. She is a 5-1 favorite on a lot of books. I lean towards Kline here. She's 15 years younger. She is substantially bigger. At this point in their respective development, she's quicker and more athletic. She probably has more power on a shot-for-shot basis. Hill could turn this into a weird split decision that could go either way, just maybe by showing that Kline doesn't have the greatest technique in the clinch or something. But that would be a kind of surprise, just another kind of Angela Hill surprise performance. I think Kline probably kind of dominates this one start to finish, and it's going to turn into one of those women's flyweight / strawweight fights where Kline is clearly the superior fighter from the jump, but barring some weird unforeseen cut or freakish occurrence, we're probably not getting a finish. So you just buckle in for a 30-27 Kline performance, and that's my pick here.
So I have a hard time making a pick on this fight because I always have a hard time picking Angela Hill fights. Like, one thing I've said this, some people I feel like I have a good read on, like for example, I feel like I had a very good read on Josh Van before a lot of other people do. Then there's people I feel like I do not have a good read on, no matter how many times I watch him fight. And Angela Hill is in that category. She's a volume striker on the feet. She's an outfighter. She's got some good footwork to keep her distance. She doesn't want to be pressured, though she did come out a little more aggressive against Ketlin Souza in that fight. But she works behind a jab. She's got a good check hook to kind of keep her distance. She likes to target the body. She's a point fighter, though. She lacks power. She will slip and rip. She slides her head out of the way and then returns fire. Her slip right hand has been her best weapon for years. She will lunge into her shot sometimes, which leaves her open to be countered and also open to be taken down. She wants to be all the way in or all the way out. She started adding like elbows in close, which I like, and I actually almost feel like all the way in might be her best position now, where it used to be the opposite, like all the way out was. She never wants to be in that mid-range. She'll throw out some stupid spinning attacks because it's Angela Hill. She has really improved her clinch game. It's grinding on her opponents in the clinch, framing, blasting knees inside. I also think she's improved her overall grappling. She can get a takedown every once in a while, which was never the case. I mean, she got takedowns against Denise Gomez, a fight that her performance has aged well. Ketlin Souza, she got takedowns against. She subbed Yolanda Pinheiro. That's something I don't think we would have said in the past. She's a bad defensive wrestler. It has improved, but it went from like an F to a D. So her get-up game probably went from a D to a C. So that's good. I always give her like credit for not getting subbed by Mackenzie Dern, which is super impressive. She's again, I don't know how I feel about her. Sometimes she has this like dog in her where I'm like, man, she's really improving. And then other times she's like slows down late in fights and gives away close fights. So I'm like, I really don't know about Angel Hill. Kline, she's only 25, so I like that. She's a good prospect. I said on the recap show of the last fight, she looks like a future top 15 fighter. Good athlete. She can fight out of both stances. She's technically sound. She fights behind a high guard. She's a pressure striker, nice boxing, good volume, quick hands. She attacks with combination. She has some power, big kicking game, mixes kicks into her combination, which I like. Good teep kicks. Hit incredible high kick against Melissa Martinez in her last fight. She likes to close the distance and work inside and land knees inside. She isn't a bad wrestler. Got some. Well, her wrestling's been inconsistent, but she's shown flashes of good wrestling, I should say. Like body lock takedowns. She is a BJJ black belt. She's competed in a lot of high level BJJ tournaments. Good top control. She does advance to a better position on the ground. Not much of a defensive wrestler, though I don't think that will be a problem against Angel Hill. But she has good cardio. So I really want to take Hill in this fight. Like I said, I don't have a good read on it, but also because, yes, I do say that Kline looks like a future top 15 fighter, and Hill is like that cusp of, you beat Hill, you're probably a top 15 fighter. But she's also a massive step up in competition from Melissa Martinez. I feel like this should have been a tier in between. Like she should have took like Martinez is the bottom of the barrel and Hill is like a middle tier. You need like, if we had 5 tiers, Hill's then that 3rd tier and she skipped over the 4th tier. You seem very confident on Kline. I don't. I think that we have a war on our hands. I think she's at the age where she can make huge improvements. So I really like that. Like she could be a completely different fighter than I last saw her. While Hill is at the age where we can see a decline immediately. Now it's funny because at 40, she looks better than she did at 30. Mm-hmm. I think this is competitive everywhere. You said that somehow Hill can turn this into a close split decision fight. That's how I'm going. I'm going split decision. I'm going to say Fatima lands a takedown on 2, and that's going to be the difference. Maybe get some portions on top. I'm going to go Fatima by split decision. But again, I don't like these odds. I think the line should be much closer. I'm not confident in my pick at all, but give me Kline by split decision.
Middleweights take the cage next on the UFC 322 undercard as Kyle Daukaus looks to remain undefeated in his second go-round in the UFC against Gerald Meerschaert. Daukaus, the 32-year-old Philadelphia native, is 16-4 with 1 no contest overall. He is 3-4 with 1 no contest across 2 separate stints in the UFC. He originally joined the UFC as a veteran of Season 3 of Dana White's Contender Series and the CFFC middleweight champ, went 2-4 with 1 no contest, got cut, went back to the East Coast, won 4 straight fights in CFFC, won back his middleweight belt, got re-signed ahead of UFC Shanghai back in August, and the return fight could not have gone much better as he blasted Michel Pereira in just 43 seconds, just with a nasty, right hand. Got the second stint in the UFC off to a fantastic start. He would love to keep that momentum going against Meerschaert. 37-year-old Wisconsinite is 37-20 overall. He is an even 12-12 in the UFC. He is on a 3-fight losing streak, the first of his entire career, dating back almost exactly a year. Those losses have come against Reinier de Ritter, Brad Tavares, and in his most recent outing at UFC 319 back in August, Michal Oleksiejczuk, who knocked him out in the first round. Meerschaert at 37, facing his 4th straight loss, potentially fighting for his job here. He is not the favorite. Daukaus is the favorite. Keith, what would you set the line at?
Daukaus, I'm gonna say is a fairly like negative 230.
He is a bigger favorite than that. Daukaus is minus 350.
Okay.
Meerschaert plus 275. On some level, I get it, because there's a certain point in their respective development that this could have been almost a mirror match, except for the difference in age. They're both kind of tall, rangy middleweights, not the best athletes, really opportunistic submission artists with rudimentary striking. They've both improved their striking over the last few years, even Meerschaert, which is impressive for a guy who's been around as long as he has, had this endless regional career, going on 25 fights in the UFC. It's impressive that I believe his striking has improved from what it was, say, 5 years ago when we started previewing his fights. It's interesting. Daukaus all of a sudden has some power. And I'm not even just talking about him blasting Michel Pereira, because that was sort of a head-on collision thing where half of the concussive power of the knockout came from Pereira running in at full speed with his hands down and just literally running straight into Daukaus's fist with his face. But even if you look back at the fights he won in CFFC in between his 2 runs in the UFC, he had at least one knockout there, but even the fights where he won by submission or by decision, he's sitting down on his punches a little harder. He's always been a little deceptive because, he looks super unathletic, but he's a little better of an athlete than he looks like. And he doesn't look like a guy who'd have real good power, but he's grown into a guy that has sneaky good power. That spells bad news for Meerschaert, because while Meerschaert's offensive striking, I feel, has gotten a little better. He throws straighter punches. He throws in combination better. He still is super hittable. A lot of his recent slump has just been that his eternal style of taking a ton of punishment until his opponent gets tired and makes a mistake, and then Meerschaert guillotines him. He just doesn't seem to have the durability to carry him through it anymore. If these guys had fought 3 years ago, I would have just said, okay, let's start in like a front headlock race position and see if Daukaus can get the Darce choke before Meerschaert gets the guillotine. But I don't think we get that here. I think Daukaus probably knocks out Meerschaert, and I think he probably does it in the first round. Yeah. If this thing goes past the first round, it becomes a whole different fight. Meerschaert is still a builder if he can get to those later rounds, but I don't think we get there. I think Daukaus knocks him out early.
Yeah, this fight, I agree. If 3 years ago, I would felt pretty good about Meerschaert. Do you think? Let me ask you this: do you think the line is them saying they feel good about Daukaus, or is this simply like they think Meerschaert is shot?
I think it is a little bit of saying Meerschaert is shot, like just because of how he's looked over the losing streak, and then giving a little too much shine to Daukaus's knockout of Pereira. But I agree with you, because if they fought a couple years ago, not only would it have been, I think, close to a pick'em or Meerschaert favored, but I would have said Meerschaert was the guy more likely to get the knockout. Like if one of these guys knocks out the other, it's probably Meerschaert. But yeah, not now.
Yeah, Meerschaert at this point of his career, it's hard to have a lot of confidence in him. This is a guy he was turning into one of our favorite guys, classic overachiever, kind of a guy that I looked at as like a regional guy that might win 1 or 2 fights in the UFC, and then he never went on a run, but he won a lot more fights than you expect for someone based on his skill set. The problem is he's clearly declining. He's a southpaw. He wins with output and toughness. The problem is you go back to like the Brad Tavares fight, his output was so low in that fight. He's never been a good striker. He's got slow hands. He's very hittable. He lacks head movement, and his chin just can't hold up anymore. Michel Olasechek just destroyed him easily in the first round of their matchup. He'll throw some kicks. A lot of that is just to close the distance. We'll look for takedowns, but he's a BJJ guy. He's not your traditional wrestler. His entries are slow without a setup. He tries to pressure and create a scramble, and that's how the way he finds the way to get the fight to the ground. He's a terrible defensive wrestler. The fact that he jumps guillotine makes it worse. Now he's a good grappler. There's no doubt about that. His best chance of winning fights, I said this last time, is just to snag a submission in a scramble, and he can get submissions anywhere. But he will often look for subs off his back instead of trying to get back to his feet and puts himself in bad position. Daukaus, southpaw, he's a technical striker on the feet. He likes to press the action, very relaxed, composed, accurate. He throws some weird angles. They kind of come from his hips, but his hands are, fairly fast. He's got a nice straight left. I like that he just touches and unloads when a hole opens up. Underrated power. I mean, we saw him just knock out Michel Pereira. Kind of caught him with a perfect hook. I know Michel Pereira they say he's been going through a lot of stuff, but still a really good win. He sits on his punches when the opening is present. Throws a lot of solid kicks from the outside, hard kicks to the body. Especially when he faces an orthodox fighter. He tries to wrestle, but again, he's similar to Meerschaert, more of a BJJ wrestler, but he's also a solid grappler. He's a submission artist. He's got 11 subs on his record. You mentioned he likes guillotines. He's like a Darce choke specialist. They call him the Darce Knight. He will lose position trying to catch a submission, though, and he struggles to get off the bottom because he plays BJJ too much over the back. And I'm also worried about his durability. He's been hurt a bunch in the past. I know he had facial surgery for one of his losses. So if we get a grappling matchup, this could be really fun. The problem is, why would Daukaus grapple with Meerschaert? I mean, at this point, he's still a better striker. I don't trust either guy's chin, but I think Meerschaert's durability, he had to win fights by being super durable. Now that his durability has faded, I think Daukaus catches him early. I think Daukaus is going to knock him on the first round. I think he's going to have back-to-back knockouts. Give me Daukaus by first-round knockout.
All right. Men's bantamweights take the cage next at UFC 322 as Malcolm Wellmaker tries to stay undefeated against Cody Haddon. Wellmaker, the 31-year-old Georgia native, is 10-0 as a professional. He's 2-0 since joining the UFC out of Season 8 of Dana White's Contender Series. He has already fought twice this year. He made his UFC debut back in April, knocking out Cameron Simon in the first round. Came back in June at UFC on ESPN Usman versus Buckley and knocked out Chris Matinho in the first round. He'll look to make it 3 in a row against Haddon. 27-year-old Australian is 8-1 as a professional. He is 1-0 since joining the UFC, also out of Season 8 of the Contender Series. He made his debut over a year ago. It was UFC Fight Night, Royval versus Tyra last October, where he picked up a unanimous decision over Dan Argueta. Wellmaker had been scheduled to fight Suri Sidi. Sidi dropped out of the fight on October 13th. Hadn't stepped in a few days later. So for what it's worth, it's a month's notice. It's not exactly a quick turnaround. Pretty close odds on this one. Your favorite is -140, underdog +120. Who are they, Keith?
Wellmaker's the favorite.
You are correct. Malcolm Wellmaker -140, Cody Haddon +120. Honestly, considering how badly Wellmaker has dusted his first 2 UFC opponents and the fact that Haddon is coming in on a month's notice, I expected this one to be a ridiculous line and Wellmaker to be a 3-1 favorite or something. I find it slightly heartening that he's not. Tell me how you see this fight, who you think gets it done.
Yeah, so it's funny because I always look at guys' ages and stuff when I make predictions. And you said Wellmaker's 31. I'm like, oh my God, he's way older than I thought he was.
Mm-hmm.
If you told me how old is Wellmaker, I would have guessed 24 years old. I view him as a prospect. No, this guy should be in his prime years. I'm like, wow, was I wrong about that? There's a lot of things I like about him. So even though that I don't like, he fights out of both stances. He's a good striker, very relaxed, very poised. He's got good hands. He's got good boxing, quick hands. He works behind a nice tight jab. I love his counter right hand. He has plus power. He does load up a lot, so I'm worried he's going to gas out in fights. I've said this about him before because he loads up, tries getting that spectacular knockout every time. He also hangs his hands low, but to his credit, he moves his head really well. Either he's sliding or he's hiding behind his lead shoulder, which is very boxing style. I'm not crazy about hiding behind the lead shoulder, but just in general, slipping punches, I think he's good at it. Good hard calf kicks, good hard body kicks. He can sneak in a takedown. Again, he's not an NCAA level wrestler, but he can win rounds with a takedown. He will shoot from distance without a setup, so that's something to watch for. He has 2 subs on his record. He gets the fight to the ground. His opponent, Hayden's a well-rounded fighter. He has kind of like a Taekwondo background, but he's also competed in Muay Thai and boxing, so he's got a lot of striking experience. He's a good striker. He likes to press the action. He's constantly marching down his foe, constantly taking the ground, nonstop action. As I've said before, he just throws punches just to stay busy. He's got fast hands, nice snap on his shots. He attacks with combinations. He also moves his head really well. He avoids shots. He avoids shots well by moving his head, but he also sets up shots with up and down feints, which I really like. He attacks the body. He would hit harder, but he throws a little too many arm punches. But that said, he has 5 TKOs, so I might be overrating that based on one fight. But big kicking game, mean kicks to the body, good calf kicks, incredible stepping knees. He's a solid wrestler, nice entries. He's a BJJ black belt. He's competed in some high level competitions. He's got. Heading into the UFC, he had 2 really quick subs. He showed good takedown defense. Dan Arquette, he stopped tons of takedowns in that fight. And when he was taken down, he was popping right back up to his feet. And he's got good cardio. So this is one of my favorite fights on the fight. Fight on the card. This is a tremendous fight. I'm all in on kind of both of these guys. I think they're both really special talents. Wellmaker has the power advantage on the feet, while Haddon is more technical on the feet and has the better output. I also think I favor him in the grappling. I think both guys will have their moments, so that's why I'm glad that the betting line is really close. If you had, it's like one fight where I thought Wellmaker, that you said, I thought he'd be a bigger favorite based on like the buzz he's been getting compared to Haddon. The thing is, I think Wellmaker might gas himself out trying to catch Haddon, or try to match his output if he does. Between the output and the pressure, I'm going to pick a slight upset. I don't know how many upsets I've picked, but I've picked a couple already. But I'm going to pick Haddon. I think he's cleaner. I think he might be the prospect to watch in this fight. Give me Haddon by decision.
I love the pick. I am going to jump on the bandwagon with you here. I know what you mean about being surprised that Wellmaker's already 31. He's just sort of a late starter in MMA. He had a couple of amateur fights in kind of his mid-20s, but he didn't make his pro debut until he was 28 years old. Since then, he's been fairly busy. But yeah, if he's staying at bantamweight, go time is now. And this is an appropriate step up in competition. Like, he has proved conclusively that he has passed the Cameron Simon, Chris Matinho level of prospect. I'm with you in leaning Haddon. Just looking back at Wellmaker's fights, and it's tough to find the tape on his pre-Dana White's Contender Series fights. They were in some like super small, low-level kind of Southeast promotions, but we've not really seen his ground game tested, at least not by anybody of Cody Haddon's level. Like, these guys are probably each the best fighter the other has faced, except maybe for Haddon's early career loss to Steve Erceg. But that's one that I went back and watched kind of in preparation for talking about this fight. And in Erceg, Haddon faced somebody that is a little like Wellmaker, in just a guy that's going to be taller, have better reach, good power on his shots. And yeah, Haddon lost, but he wasn't out of his depth. I feel as though he's come a ways since then. Yeah, put me down for the mild upset here as well. The thing about this one is, if I'm wrong, if you're wrong, we're probably going to be real wrong. It'll just be Wellmaker lancing him with a punch in like 2 minutes. But as the fight goes on, I favor Haddon to kind of build from strength to strength. He'll maybe get Wellmaker on the ground in the second half of the fight and eke out a decision that way. Give me Cody Haddon in the upset, probably by winning rounds 2 and 3. Next up on the UFC 322 undercard is a women's flyweight matchup between Erin Blanchfield and Tracy Cortez. Blanchfield, the 26-year-old New Jersey native, is 13-2 overall. She is 7-1 since joining the UFC as a former contender in both CFFC and Invicta. She is coming in off a win. She fought most recently, almost exactly a year ago, at UFC Fight Night Moreno versus Albazi, where she picked up a unanimous decision over former strawweight champ Rose Namajunas. That allowed her to bounce back from her lone UFC loss so far against Manon Fior. She will look to make it 2 in a row here, perhaps throw her name into the hat for the next title shot at 125 pounds against Cortez. 31-year-old Arizona native is 12-2 overall. She is 6-1 since joining the UFC out of season 3 of Dana White's Contender Series. She is also coming in off a win. She fought most recently back in January at UFC 317, where she won a unanimous decision over Viviane Araujo. That allowed her to bounce back from her first UFC loss, which was against Namajunas last summer. These two, of course, have some history. They faced one another at Invicta 34 back in February of 2019, with Cortez winning a split decision, a very, very close one. Keith has been on record as saying he thought Blanchfield should have won, and it's certainly plausible. The odds here appear to reflect maybe the closeness of that fight and the progress that Blanchfield has made since then, because she is the favorites and a pretty comfortable one. I'll just throw it out there. Blanchfield is minus 220, Cortez plus 180. There's a certain amount of MMA math to it. Both of them have fought the same fighter fairly recently. One of them beat her, one of them lost to her. Both fights were reasonably competitive, but I do think it's more just down to their first fight was super close, and Blanchfield has, generally speaking, looked better against a just slightly better caliber fighters since then. They're still largely the same fighters they were 6 years ago, but Blanchfield was what, 20 at the time? She is a better athlete than she was then. She is stronger than she was then. Her striking is better than it was then. I think Tracy Cortez is a good fighter. That sounds like faint praise, but no, I think she's a legit top 10 flyweight, but she's going to have to kind of thread a needle to beat Blanchfield again. She's going to have to do a stick and move type performance where she avoids the clinch against Blanchfield, because Blanchfield has become a pretty dangerous offensive fighter there, even if she doesn't bring the fight to the ground. And it is also her best way of bringing fights to the ground. And I don't think Cortez wants any of Blanchfield on the mat at this point. I think Blanchfield might be 2 belts ahead of what she was in 2019. And like I said, physically stronger. While she's still not a fast twitch type athlete. When I say I like her athleticism, what I really mean is just I like her motor and her physicality. It kind of reminds me of Macy Barber that way. I don't think she has probably has an incredible high jump. She wouldn't. Yeah,
she's more of a brute than an athlete.
Yeah, absolutely. I think these are 2 top 10 flyweights. We've seen them fight each other. And the difference between the two since then just really strongly favors Blanchfield. Give me Blanchfield to win a straightforward decision in a fight that's competitive early, and Blanchfield is probably rolling downhill on Cortez pretty badly by the end. I could see this being one where maybe even the judges are split in the first round. Cortez is able to stay on her bike, jab up Blanchfield, kick her legs, move laterally. But as you love to point out, and I completely agree with you, it is tiring to be on your bike for an MMA fight. It is much more tiring to walk backwards than it is to walk forwards, let alone while trying to throw punches and kicks. And at some point, late first round, early second, Blanchfield's going to hit her first takedown. And even if Cortez survives, gets back up, I think the route is on from there. So yeah, give me Blanchfield to win a decision, and the final scorecards that look something like 30-27, 30-27, 29-28 don't necessarily reflect the fact that Blanchfield looks like a title contender by the end of that fight.
I mean, if she wins, she probably gets a title shot next.
Mhm.
You know, bearing something crazy happening in the Coleman event, or I
Right.
mean, I guess if Zhang Weili wins, then you can make an argument for Valentina to get an automatic rematch based on how long she's been champion and everything. But yeah, also depending on how it comes. If it's a split decision or something, maybe. But I think she's got a tough opponent to get past. I mean, Tracy Cortez. I'll start with Cortez because she won the first fight. She's a well-rounded fighter. She's a little plodding on the feet, but she has good output. She works behind a nice stiff jab, mixes combinations well. She likes to get in that mid-range and throw big power shots. I'd say she has plus power in her hands. Nice kicking game, though sometimes she'll throw kicks without a setup. She's very hittable, though. Doesn't move her head enough. Plus, because she presses her opponents so much, she eats a lot of shots. So that's something that she needs to clean up. She likes to close the distance and battle in the clinch. She has some, good dirty boxing. She likes to wrestle. She shoot takedowns from a distance, but I've said this before, but I think her wrestling is overrated. She is good at winning scrambles if she can get one started. Like good top control. She is a submission threat. She likes guillotines and they got like those headed chokes, Darce chokes, barbell chokes, stuff like that. She showed good takedown defense against Yasmin Jasovicius. That's probably the best win of her career. That win has aged well too. If she's pinned against the canvas, though, she struggles to get back up to her feet. She does have good cardio, though. I mean, she was going hard in the fifth round in elevation against Rose Namajunas in a fight that she lost, but like fifth round was one of her best rounds. Blanchfield. I'm just going to read exactly what I said about her before the Barber fight. I mean, nothing changed. I think she's a true title contender. And I think that's surprising based, as you said, she's not like you said, she's a good athlete, then you kind of changed it. And I kind of know exactly what you're saying. Like, yeah, like she probably doesn't do the best cartwheel if but so that's what I'm saying. She's not this wonderful athlete. I'm torn on her. I mean, her hands looked fast against Jessica Andrade, but I think that had more to say with Jessica Andrade. But it looks slower against Manon Ferrot and Talia Santos. But she's only 26, and she isn't a finished product. She's beat some good fighters already. She's a high volume striker. She overwhelms people with just her counter striking. She slips and rips counters. She's fearless. She just walks down her foes. That's what she did against Rose Namajunas. She's very mentally strong. I mean, going back to like the Rose Namajunas, she was clearly losing rounds, and she just found a way to dig deeper than Rose. Not the hottest hitter because she throws a lot of arm punches, but she has a big kicking game. She doesn't check leg kicks, though she had that incredible high kick knockout against Victoria Leonardo, which though that was forever ago. If she can get the fight to the ground, though, she's an awesome grappler. She wrestles a lot. She isn't great at it. Her best performance with the wrestling was probably the Miranda Maverick fight. The issue is she doesn't really set up her entry. She kind of just dives right in. She'll grab a single leg and run the pipe. So she might struggle to get the fight to the ground, but if she gets the fight to the ground, she's elite. Smothering top game, mean ground and pound. I've said it before about her. Like she's just like super soft-spoken, sweet girl, but she's like that one who just keeps all her anger inside and lets it out when she's fighting. She's like this angry. I've said this before. She's like this angry girlfriend that got cheated on, and she just wants to make that person suffer. I mean, she beat Molly McCann bad with a crucifix. She's a BJJ black belt. She's won a world championship in jiu-jitsu. She's a submission specialist. I mean, she sub McCann with an amazing Kimura. She choked out Jessica Andrade. Before it was like, that was like the first time Jessica Andrade was really like embarrassed, not this like terrible run that she's been on. So I like Blanchfield here. I think it's pretty even on the feet. I just love Blanchfield's grappling. I think the wrestling is pretty even too, but the control, the ground and pound, the submission game of Blanchfield, I think is special. And that I don't know if Cortez has it in it when it's tight and when it's close. Those last couple seconds, those things that win rounds. I think Blanchfield has it. I don't know if Cortez has it. I think she gets on top. I think she lands mean ground and pound. I think Cortez makes a bad decision, and I think Blanchfield puts a stamp on this fight. I think she's going to sub her. I think she's going to catch her in a submission. I think it's going to be. I think she's going to make a great statement, and she's going to put herself in for a title shot. I'm taking Blanchfield by third round submission. You said she's -220 favorite.
Yes.
I think that's good odds. I'm locking this in. I'm locking this my lock of the night. Give me Erin Blanchfield, lock of the night.
Next up on the UFC 322 undercard is a middleweight matchup between Roman Kopylov and Gregory Rodrigues. Kopylov, the 33-year-old Russian, is 14-4 overall. He is 6-4 in the UFC. He's coming in off a loss. He fought most recently at UFC 318 back in July, where he dropped a unanimous decision to Paulo Costa. Prior to that, he had won back-to-back fights against Cesar Almeida and Chris Curtis. So he'll be looking to start up a new win streak here against Rodrigues. 33-year-old Brazilian is 17-6 overall. He is 10-3 since joining the UFC out of Season 4 of Dana White's Contender Series. He is coming in off a win. He fought at UFC 317 back in June, where he knocked out Jack Hermanson with a just brutal one-shot walk-off late in the first round. So he's looking to make it 2 in a row here. Your favorite, Keith, is minus 170. Underdog plus 140. Who are they?
I'm going to say Rodrigues is the favorite.
You are correct. Gregory Rodrigues, minus 170. Roman Kopylov, plus 140. There is a time not too long ago where I think Rodrigues would have been a much bigger favorite against Kopylov. I have been underestimating Kopylov and selling him short pretty much for his entire UFC run. I mean, I can understand why, because he lost his first 2 bouts in the UFC right off the bat to not great fighters in both cases. So I probably just wrote him off right then. But even as he went on a win streak after that and won like 3 or 4 in a row, I probably picked against him I can't remember, but I probably picked against him in most of those wins. Just when he gets in the cage, he's always bigger than I expect. He's always a better athlete than I expect. And even though he is very obviously a kickboxer by inclination, he's always a harder hitter than I expect. I don't know what it is. I need to learn my lesson because, yeah, he's a good-sized middleweight who is a crisp striker. He doesn't have a ton of just... Well, I say he doesn't have a ton of one-shot KOs, but I think he has 2 by head kick now. Yeah, it's pretty much boils down at this point to his ground game, his defensive wrestling. Like Paulo Costa was the first guy to beat him in a long time without, taking him down, or without making that like the way he beat him. It makes the fight against Rodrigues interesting because like Rodrigues kind of like like a middleweight Jailton Almeida. He is an outstanding grappler and a good wrestler. But Almeida is a good wrestler who can look great if he runs into somebody that is just kind of susceptible to his like brute force approach. And I feel the same about Rodrigues. On the feet, Rodrigues has massive power, but I'd be surprised if he's able to land cleanly on Kopylov on the feet. Again, like I've just been underestimating how good Kopylov is defensively on the feet. I'm leaning towards the slight upset here. Just I've become more of a believer in Kopylov's defensive soundness, in his durability, in his ability to look good late in fights. And those are things that I'm sort of starting to wonder about Rodrigues. I think this is probably a close fight. And if I'm wrong, like Rodrigues probably just clubs Kopylov on the feet and then just absolutely runs him over on the ground and I look like a complete idiot. But give me Kopylov to maybe survive a few scary spots early in the fight, avoid Rodriguez's big power shots, stay upright for most of the fight, and win going away. Like I could see Rodrigues being kind of beat up and discouraged, and maybe there even being, some possibility of a late stoppage. But I'm going to say this makes it to the final horn and Kopylov wins a decision.
I just want to point out how great this card is again. I mean, I'm sitting there looking, and there's got to be 6 or 7 fights on this card that could headline a fight night. every single fight on the main card, this one, a couple other ones. I mean, this. I mean, Blanchfield and Cortez just talked about. Yeah, this is a really good fight. Rodrigues, he's a massive dude. He's so freaking big. Looks like a heavyweight when you see him in person. He's well rounded. He marches down his opponent. Good volume, good hand speed, accurate, throws tight, short shots. He loves to get in the pocket and land big power shots. He is better when he straightens them out a little bit, but he still loves those big hooks. Now, he will telegraph a little bit and load up, but when he connects, we see what happens. He just knocked out Jack Hermanson. He is willing to eat a shot to land one of his own because he's super tough, but he's not just a striker. He's a solid wrestler. He likes body lock takedowns. He can shoot takedowns from the outside, and he hasn't been wrestling as much. Something I think he needs to go back to more. Sometimes he doesn't have the best technique. Sometimes he'll just duck his head without a setup or anything. But if he grabs your leg, he's so physically strong. There's a good chance he's picking up his opponent, slamming him. If he gets to the fight's ground, he is a good grappler, mean ground and pound. He is a submission artist. He is one that he's willing to lose position to get the submission. His gas tank has been a major issue, though. I mean, he gassed out in the second round against Jared Cannonier. Kopylov's also big for the weight class, more like a longer and lengthier guy than like just Rodrigues, just like thick. Kopylov, he's a good athlete. He's a southpaw. He's a Muay Thai striker. He likes to work from the outside. He hates being pressured. Good volume. He's a bit of a builder. He gets stronger as the fight goes on. Good jab, throws straight shots on the pike, attacks with combinations. He showed some pop against Cesar Almeida, dropped him a few times in their fight. Good variety in striking, good punches, good kicks, good overall kicking game. Likes the high kicks. He stopped Puna Soriano with a body kick. He stopped Josh Friend with a body kick. Beautiful high kick over Claudio Ribeiro. He isn't a bad wrestler. I mean, he took Cesar Almeida down and beat him up because of his wrestling. He will shoot sometimes without a setup. If taken down, he's hard to hold down. He gets back up. Good top game if he's on top, though he's not much of a submission artist. So I think this is a great fight. I like both fighters a lot. I think both are well-rounded. I think Teixeira is the better finisher. If we get a spectacular finish, it'd probably be Teixeira. Well,
Rodrigues.
Sorry. What am I saying? Teixeira. Stereotyping random Brazilians. Rodrigues. He looks like he should be. He looks like Glover Teixeira. That's why I said it. Little darker skin than Glover Teixeira, but Capo's well rounded. I don't want to say like he can't get a spectacular finish. He could land like a high kick or something. I've kind of flip flopped on this one. If it's a slower distance fight, then I favor Kopylov pretty good. Yeah, that's where if he gets his space, he's more technical. If this is high pace slugfest, then I like Rodrigues. If Rodrigues can turn this into chaos, that's where I favor him. The thing is, Rodrigues almost never fights in that technical battle. He always brings it. That's why I'm going to go with the favor. I'm going to go with Rodrigues. I think both guys will have their moments. I think both going to land big shots. I just think the bigger shots will be landed by Rodrigues. I think he gets the win. I want to pick a stoppage. I really want to pick a stoppage, but I'm going to say we just have an all-time. I don't want to say all-time war, but we have a really good slugfest. Give me Rodrigues by decision.
Yeah, I mean, for what it's worth, like on paper, either this or Sabatini versus Mariscal strike me as the fight of the night candidates on the undercard.
Sure,
like Blanchfield versus Cortez is the highest relevance fight on the undercard, but it may not be a just absolute barn burner.
Well, Wellmaker and Haddon could be up there too.
Yeah, that's another one. Yeah, that's a good point. Next up at UFC 322, and at least as the card is constituted as of the beginning of fight week, the top prelim is a middleweight matchup between Bo Nickal and Rodolfo Vieira. Nickal, the 29-year-old fighting out of Pennsylvania, is 7-1 overall. He is 3-1 since joining the UFC as a 2-time winner on season 6 of Dana White's Contender Series. That is the good news. The bad news is that the one loss is in his most recent outing. He fought, of course, at UFC on ESPN, Sandhagen versus Figueiredo back in May, where he frankly got melted in the second round by Reinier de Ridder. So looking to bounce back from the first loss of his MMA career, and a fairly demoralizing one at that, he will need to get past the black belt hunter. Vieira, 36-year-old Brazilian, is 11-3 overall. He is 6-3 in the UFC, and he is coming in off a win. He's fought twice this year already, losing a unanimous decision to Andre Petroski in February, and then coming back at UFC on ESPN, Tyra versus Park in August, and winning a unanimous decision over Tresean Gore. So he's looking to make it 2 in a row, continue the slide for former amateur wrestling superstar Nickal. Keith, who do you think the favorite is?
I think Bo's the favorite.
You are correct. What would you make the line if it were you?
-130.
It is wider than you expect. Nickal is -230, Vieira +190, and I'm gonna jump right out and say here. And
take out the Ridder fight. If this was what Paul Craig did this one, he'd probably be -600.
He would be, as he had been in basically all of his fights leading up to the de Ridder fight. If you're watching this right now and you are a regular viewer of the Shillen and Duffy show, you know that Bo Nickal has, I don't even want to say a running joke, because like we both legit believed that he had, you know, future title upside in the middleweight division. Sure. But, you know, he was a touchstone for the show. Like, you know, Keith very famously said, we're going to mention Bo Nickal every episode, whether he, you know, is fighting on that card or not, until he loses. The way he lost in his most recent outing is, it's about as bad as it could go. Like, even if you were to tell me, okay, he's going to lose to Reinier de Ridder, of all the ways he could have lost, like getting knocked out early by de Ridder, taking de Ridder down and getting de Ridder triangling him off his back, none of those would be as bad as having his wrestling completely shut down and then just getting murdered in the clinch in the second round while looking exhausted already. Like, it was the kind of loss that the question I'm about to ask now, instead of has Bo gone back to the drawing board and fixed the things that went wrong in the fight, the question I'm about to ask is, how in is Bo Nickal on his fight career? Because, you know, Keith and I, because we're idiots, you know, in the middle of previewing a 14 fight card, we had about a 15-minute side discussion about how tough it is to get top level amateur wrestlers to cross over to MMA and stay committed to it, just because it is so easy to go on the international competition circuit if you're that good, but afterwards, or even if you're not quite to that level, to go on the clinic circuit. Like, you know, Keith,
coaching,
coaching, like, if I went to, you know, wrestling camp every summer in high school, I'm sure Keith did, you know, and so I'm going to like the little Pennsylvania colleges. I'm going to like Lock Haven and Bucknell and Shippensburg, like little wrestling camps. And like these former champs, former multiple time All-Americans are showing up, doing a 3-hour clinic and walking away with thousands of dollars without anybody punching them in the face. Like, since that loss, is Bo Nickal going, okay, you know, I've got another contract with the UFC. I should at least cash a couple of these checks before I go and do the next thing? Or did he buckle down and go, okay, that shit's never happening again. I'm going to show these guys what's up. And it's worth asking about, because the way he lost to Reinier de Ridder makes you go back and look at his first 4 UFC fights, like the, you know, especially like the Craig and the Brundage fights. Like, okay, were those early warning signs that there's something going on, like letting such outmatched guys in terms of skill and physical talent like hang around longer than they needed to? I bring all this up because Nickal, he is, I mean, he's much younger than Vieira. And probably much fresher in terms of physical wear and tear. Like Vieira came as a fairly late starter in MMA after a legendary jiu-jitsu career. But in order to beat Vieira, Nickal's going to have to kind of thread a needle a little bit. That's what would make me uncomfortable making him like a minus 230 favorite, because I don't think he wants to take down Vieira when they're both fresh. The thing, or one of the things that we were kind of looking at about Nickal on his way up, like as he fought twice on the Contender Series that same season, and then fought super low level guys his first couple fights, like, you know, Jamie Pickett, Val Woodburn. It's like, oh, you know, his striking's kind of coming along. He knows he can take these guys down whenever he wants, so he's trying out his hands. We're seeing him throw some high kicks. If he wants to beat Vieira, basically, he's going to need to do a pretty disciplined stick and move type performance, because even if we know early on, like say he shoots a double leg and takes down Vieira easily early in the first round, I'm not sure that's what he wants to do. It's tough to win MMA fights against good fighters off your back in 2025. But I mean, if Nickal takes down Vieira cleanly in the first minute of the fight, Vieira quickly sweeps him and arm triangles a minute later, I'm not going to be shocked at all. Like, Nickal's best chance to win this fight is probably to sprawl and brawl, and a tried and true way to beat Vieira is to outlast him. Like, Vieira's come a long way since his very famous loss to Anthony Hernandez, where, you know, he was dead after the first round and Hernandez ended up tapping him out. But he's gotten better by managing his gas tank. It's not like he's become a cardio machine. He's just become more deliberate. He's not like hyperventilating 90 seconds into the fight. And we have no reason to, you know, trust Nickal's durability at this point. Like, I understand why Nickal's a favorite, but I'm not comfortable with him being this big a favorite. And I'm not sure he should be a favorite at all. Like, he's going to have to do some things that we haven't seen him do before to beat Rodolfo Vieira. And I would love to be wrong about this, but I don't think he does it. I think Bo Nickal loses his second fight in a row here. And I think he's probably going to get tapped out. Give me Bo Nickal to try a wrestling in reverse, sprawl and brawl game plan. I could see him touching Vieira on the feet. He's going to have longer reach than him. He probably has faster hands and feet, but he's probably going to get hit a few times in the first round. In the second round, both of them a little more tired, a little more dinged up. Maybe Nickal gets hit, just reverts to instinct, shoots a takedown, and shoots straight into a guillotine, or gets, you know, pancaked, swept, ends up on bottom, gets arm triangled. You know, Vieira is an absolute topside mauler. Give me Vieira by a second round submission here in what I guess is a pretty substantial upset, but I hope I'm wrong again, but I could see this fight aging in a way that we realize this wasn't an upset at the time.
Yeah, the crowd be excited. For some reason, Bo Nickal is like one of the most hated people in MMA,
Which
I don't understand why, but okay. They rush Bo Nickal too quickly. I know I'm gonna come off like a Bo Nickal apologist, but he's still only 8 fights into his, not his UFC career, his MMA career. Yeah, he's been only fighting for 3 years. You know, he's a long and lanky guy. He's a good athlete. The problem is his striking needs a lot of improvement. He uses a lot of feints to set up his shots. He is a threat with his striking because of the takedown opportunities. You know, we saw that the Val Woodburn fight. I think that's a perfect example. But he's very wild on the feet. He throws a lot of single strikes. We saw that against Dorita. We saw that against Craig. Now he has a few KOs on his record, so he has some like natural power. He is a amazing wrestler. I mean, I know I'm a broken record, but he's probably the best wrestler in all of MMA. I mean, it's absolutely really silly to argue straight wrestling credentials right now. I know some of the comments will say something stupid like Shemaev. Like he in a straight wrestling match, Bo Nickal. I know, Keith, you know what you're talking about. I understand this. Like a straight wrestling match, Bo Nickal was a world freaking champion. What the hell are you talking about? Bo Nickal would have pinned him in like 30 seconds. You know, he's a 4-time NCAA champion, 4-time NCAA finalist, 3-time NCAA, a 4-time NCAA All-American, 4-time finalist, 3-time NCAA champion, Hodge Trophy winner, U23 world champion. I've said before, he would have reached the Olympics if he didn't have the Olympic champion in America, in his weight class, in David Taylor, who's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. Now, he's not your Jordan Burroughs drive through your hips kind of guy. He's this guy will shoot, miss a takedown, and kind of get a scramble going, using his long arms to win the scramble. He loves like knee picks. That's what he took down Cody Brundage with. He has a good.
If Ben Askren was a great athlete.
Yeah, very, very Ben Askren. Yeah, Ben Askren with longer arms. Yeah, he's very creative. He's this guy that's, like I said before, he's a master of getting incredible results from bad technique. He's got good upper body takedowns and throws. Nobody takes him down. I mean, I've said this before. I always go back to like his most famous win, the Miles Martin, where he took him down, and next minute he was on his back getting pinned in seconds. Perfect front headlock game. He transitions well on the ground. One thing I will say that I disagree with you. You said that his wrestling failed in the Dorita fight. I mean, he took Dorita down. The problem is he jumped for a guillotine when he shouldn't have. Now he is a submission threat. I'm not surprised by that based on the way he wrestled. He was a big cradle guy. He threw cradles everywhere, chicken wings. So, I'm not surprised that he can catch submissions. The problem is he gassed against Dorita. A lot of that came from the body shots he ate, and a lot of it came from inexperience. I think he had a little panic going on. He's never been in that situation. And I'm worried about his fight IQ. He showed really poor fight IQ against Dorita. He should have stayed on top, grinded him out for long periods of time. And I think he would have took over like Brandon Allen did. But he jumped the guillotine. Later on, he had chances to break free from Dorita, and he kept clinching with him, which he was giving up size advantage. He also needs to improve his clinch striking. He got destroyed in there. One positive, he did get out on the bottom with Dorita. Dorita's a very high-level grappler. So that's some positive. But honestly, you don't go from Paul Craig to Renier Dorita. Paul Craig is maybe the easiest stylistic matchup for Bo Nickal. He's a jiu-jitsu guy who's not as good as jiu-jitsu people thinks he is, and he's a horrendous wrestler, and he's a horrendous athlete with no stand-up. That was a great stylistic matchup, and one of the worst guys on the roster to Dorita, who, other than gassing against Brandon Allen, looked like he could win a title. He's that good. So, the one thing I will say about Bo losing is, he lost to a stud. Yep. Now he's got Rodolfo Vieira. Now, Vieira, he comes off you think of him because he came with so much hype in the UFC. You think of him as a bust. Dude's 6-3 in the UFC. He's not a bust. He's not, top 5 middleweight, but he's a good athlete. I think he's an underrated striker. He lands a lot because people are worried about him taking him down. Now, I said the same thing about Bo. I don't know if Bo will land as much because I don't think Vieira worries if Bo takes him down. Now, again, Vieira is not your bottom side Marcelo Garcia guard game kind of guy. He's a top side grappler, but still against Bo, he still has a lot more experience being on his back. His volume is consistent. It was bad against Andre Petrowski. He does have a good jab. He has a good cross. I mean, he's ripped, so he's got some power. He's got some plus power. He's very hittable, though. And that's because he doesn't really move his head. He can take a shot, though. Not many people can eat shots from Chris Curtis, like he did. He eats big shots from Anthony Hernandez too. He is a good wrestler for a BJJ practitioner. I've compared him in the past to Hikaru Arona. He's got some good entries, though sometimes he'll just dive and not set him up. And he won't set him up with the striking. I've said it before. He's either squared off striking or he's wrestling. He doesn't really blend them too well together. His threat of takedowns limit his I was going to say his inability to get takedowns limit his game, but also his threat of takedowns limit his opponent's offense. So people don't throw enough against him. He doesn't chain wrestle together. That's something he's more of just like a cut the corner kind of guy than switch to something else. But if he gets your leg, he can throw you. If he gets the fight down, he's obviously elite. His BJJ credentials speak for themselves. He's one of the greatest grapplers in the history of, I mean, they call him the black belt hunter. So, I take that for what it's worth. Not a very good defensive wrestler. But again, not many people are willing to take him down, and he has gassed out in the past. So I like what you said. I mean, we've talked about this in the past. I am picking Bo. That's my guy. But I am with you, dude. I am super worried about this fight. I've said it before. I'm worried about how much he's working. Is he distracted? He's been extremely busy doing other things. He just wrestled in the RAF, the first event in wrestling. Actually looked pretty good in that, but still, he's podcasting. I've said this before. He's a guy that he's spending majority of his time in Pennsylvania, just outside of Penn State, and being in the Penn State room, and then he's going down to American Top Team for his camps, going down there for like 6-8 weeks, something like that. I'm like, it probably should be the other way around. Like, you should be in ATT for 3-4 months at a time, and then go up to, you want to freshen up your wrestling a little bit, then go up to Penn State and wrestle for 6 weeks, then go back to American Top Team. I think he has it backwards, which makes me think he's not all in on MMA. I hope I'm wrong. This is a tough stylistic matchup. I wonder if he shoots on Vieira, and if he does, will he get subbed? On the feet, Vieira's still the more technical striker. He has the better output. Another thing, one of the best things about Bo's game has been that like high kick. And does he want to throw kicks against Vieira? Like, what happens if he missed a kick, slips? How many times have we seen a guy throw a high kick and slip and be on bottom? I think Bo should have taken. We talked about levels or tiers before. I think he should have took a few levels below Vieira. Like, I don't think he should have been fighting. Like, Vieira's a mid-tier guy. And I think he should have fought someone who's a striker with zero wrestling, or very limited wrestling, or very limited grappling, or threat to get a bounce back fight. He should have had that kind of guy where he can just shoot a takedown and take him down and beat him up from on top. Or take on another wrestler that he's more decorated with. Like, I didn't hate the Andre Petrowski fight for him. Because, Petrowski hits hard. I mean, he's a better striker, but he's not going to. A big thing about Petrowski's game is being able to wrestle, and he's not going to out wrestle Bo. I agree what you say. He's going to have to really thread a needle. I'm going to say he moves and lands and strikes from a distance. His best bet is maybe this fight looks like the Petrowski fight against Vieira, or this looks like the Paul Craig fight where. The difference is Vieira's shooting on Bo, and Bo's defending takedowns and then landing from distance. If I'm Bo, I let Vieira come out wrestling with me. I'm stuffing, I'm sprawling and brawling. I'm landing small shots while I'm in, on top. I'm not really picking up. I'm slowly just trying to get him tired out from wrestling. And then as he gets tired, then maybe I open up my volume. I am not shooting at anything. And honestly, shame on his manager. I think this is a bad match. Like, I don't think this is the right matchup for him. I didn't like when they announced it, but I'm still taking my man Bo. I'll take Bo by decision.
Here, and I know we've talked about this fight at length at this point, but let me throw something out here. Like, Bo Nickal's first UFC opponent was Jamie Pickett. He had his pro debut. He fought twice on the Contender Series. He debuted in the UFC against Jamie Pickett. At the time, Jamie Pickett was he was the worst middleweight in the UFC.
Yeah,
he ended up. Like, Bo handed him his third loss in a row, and he ended up losing 5 in a row before getting cut. Yeah. But Jamie Pickett is so much better than the fighters anybody else on this card was fighting in their 4th professional fight. Whether you're talking about
absolutely.
like all-time greats like Makhachev or Shevchenko, or prospects of roughly Nickal's same age and experience, people like Wellmaker and Haddon. You compare the people they were fighting in their 3rd and 4th professional fights to Jamie Pickett. Like, he's been brought along quickly, and we'll see if he regroups from it and becomes a great, or if he becomes a might have been. But I am super excited for this fight. The 5-fight main card of UFC 322 begins with a lightweight matchup between Beneil Dariush and Benoit Saint-Denis. Dariush, the 36-year-old American of Iranian/Assyrian descent, 23-6-1 overall, 17-6-1 in the UFC. He is coming in off a win. He fought at UFC 317 back in June, where he picked up a unanimous decision over Renato Moicano. That snipped a 2-fight losing streak for him, the first losing streak of any kind of his entire career, which is pretty impressive considering how long he's been around and how long he's been fighting some of the best people in the world. But he lost back-to-back fights to Charles Oliveira and Arman Tsarukyan back in 2023, took a full year off, and came back refreshed against Moicano. He wants to start up a new win streak here, and he will need to get past Sabatini to do so. 29-year-old Frenchman is 15-3 with 1 no contest overall. He is 7-3 in the UFC, 7-2 at lightweight. He made a short notice debut during COVID weirdness, up a weight class, got wrecked by Eliseo Capoeira, but 7-2 in his best division since then, and on a 2-fight win streak comprising both of his cage appearances of this year. He tapped out Kyle Prepolek at UFC 315 back in May, then came back at UFC Paris in September and tapped out Mauricio Hufi in the second round. He is looking to make it 3 in a row, looking to prove that he is still a future title contender in this division. Keith, the favorite is -180, underdog +150. Who are they?
I'm going to say Saint-Denis is the favorite.
You are correct. Benoit Saint-Denis -180, Beneil Dariush +150. That despite them having a fairly recent foe in common. Dariush beat Moicano. Saint-Denis lost to Moicano. But nonetheless, he's almost a 2-1 favorite. Tell me what's good about this fight, who you think gets it done, what the fight looks like.
Yeah, Saint-Denis being the favorite doesn't surprise me. Being that big a favorite definitely surprises me. If Beneil Dariush had jet black hair instead of peppered hair, like this line might be a lot closer. I honestly think this guy gets shit on because of how he looks. Dariush is good. I mean, he's a southpaw. He's constantly marching down his opponent. He beats his opponent with high volume. He hits hard. He wings powerful overhand lefts, mean kicks to the body. He loves the high kick against an orthodox fighter. He loves stepping knees. I mean, he go back to like the Matheus Gamera. That's what he was landing with. Defense is an issue for him. He has really no regard for what's coming at him. He keeps his chin high in the air. He doesn't really move his head. I'm also a little worried about his durability. I mean, he's 36. I mean, he was knocked out by Charles Oliveira and Arman Tsarukyan in back-to-back fights. I don't think, a year later or whatever it is that it's suddenly, his chin's going to get better. And the fact that he's also like willing to eat a shot to lay one of his own. He's a big guy, so he's got those long legs. So he's open to leg kicks too. He's very physically strong. He likes to get in the clinch and go chest to chest and grind in the clinch. I've said it before. He's like, has a very like Kamaru Usman style there, likes to work knees inside. He isn't a bad wrestler for, BJJ practitioner. He showed like incredible takedown defense against Matheus Gamera. He's an absolute elite grappler, multi-time no-gi world champion, smothering top game, slick back takes. I keep bringing up the Gamera fight because that was such a fun fight. Like his scrambles in that fight was amazing. He doesn't rush submissions either, and if he gets the opportunity, he can put you away. He's got 8 submissions in his career. Saint-Denis, southpaw, moves really well, nice output on the feet, marches down his foe, kind of trying to bully them, force them on the back foot. Quick hands, explosive. Throws a lot of rear punches, made a lot of power punches there. He has some good power, big kicking game, great high kicks. I go back to like the Matt Favola high kick where he timed it perfectly off an escape. He also eats a lot of shots, keeps his chin too high, doesn't move his head. I mean, we've talked about this before. Like the beatings this guy has already taken in the UFC. McConico beat the shit out of him, go all the way back to like, I think it was his UFC debut against one of his first or second fights in the UFC.
Yeah, like Eliseo Capoeira in his UFC debut beat him so bad that the ref got yanked for the rest of the event.
For
not stopping it. Yeah.
I mean, Dustin Poirier put him out. So, he's taken some bad beatings. But he's super tough. Like he's too tough for his own good. He will close the distance and grind and clinch. He's also a very physically strong guy. He's got a judo background. But he's also like a good wrestler. He'll look for upper body takedowns. He'll shoot takedowns from the outside. He's a very good grappler. Very good offensive grappler and topside grappler. He did struggle to get off the bottom against Renato Moicano in their fight. A big submission threat. He's got 11 subs on his record. He will jump for a sub instead of stuffing a takedown, like jump for a guillotine. When he was taken down by Matt Frohl, he swept him on top, mean ground and pound, and pretty good submission defense. So I think this is a great matchup. I'm surprised. Maybe it's Saint Denis. Saint Denis has a little buzz. They have this like French thing going on with him where they're really trying to grow in the French market. And he has like a little bit of a cult following. I'm surprised that this one's on the main card. Like, I think Blanchfield and Cortez should be over it. Not entertaining wise, because this fight is definitely a more violent style between these two. I just meant like rankings wise. Mm-hmm. I can see Bo being on the main card because the people love to hate this guy. So I'm a little surprised that this is on the main card, but it's going to be a good, fun scrap. Both hit hard, but both are also hittable. I trust Saint Denis' durability more than I trust Dariush at this point. Both are good wrestlers. I think both are good grapplers. Saint Denis struggled to get off the bottom against Moicano. And the thing is, Dariush is even better grappler than Moicano. I see Dariush taking Saint Denis down, and I think he dominates him. I think he lands ground and pound. I think he controls him. I think he shows his level to grappling that Dariush still has something left. Give me Dariush by decision.
I love the pick. I know that we do pretty well when we take a unanimous upset pick, and sometimes we know that we're stepping out on a limb. Other times, at least I will say, because I'm the one who tends to pay closer attention to them beforehand. It's more that I'm surprised that fighter X was the underdog in the first place. This is one where you might be right. It might just be that Dariush looks so grizzled. Like, yeah, he's 36 and he's been fighting the best guys in the world for a long time, but he's not 50. He's like 5 years younger than Muslim Salikov. He's like 4 years younger than Angela Hill, who's fighting like Angela Hill just gets, I don't know if women get just for men, but Angela Hill just.
In fairness, black don't crack, and he looks like he could be her, like, well, I don't see his dad, but stepdad.
Yeah. Angela Hill has looked exactly the same for like 15 years. It's a thing about Benoit Saint-Denis. I came to realize something about him within the last year or two, because after he came back from the loss to Eliseo Zaleski dos Santos and started just destroying people in the lightweight division, I was like, oh, maybe this is France's first UFC champ. Maybe he is going to do an end run around like Imavov and Manon Fior and, become France's first UFC champ. And ironically, it's the Poirier fight that made me realize it. He's more like the under 30, like this generation's version of Poirier and Gaethje. Like he is exciting to a fault, has all the skills offensively, but has just enough defensive liabilities and such just an aggro bite down on the mouthpiece mindset that I think that's what's going to define his ceiling. Like a fighter who is a little more composed, a little more defensively sound, a little more durable, and has one or two standout offensive skills is going to get a chance to make them work against Saint-Denis. Like Saint-Denis was beating Poirier. Like this looked like his loss to Poirier a round into that fight looked like, oh man, this is going to be the sad end of Dustin Poirier's career, isn't it? He's just going to get destroyed by Saint-Denis, and Saint-Denis probably one more win away from a title shot. I mean, I'm not going to call it fluky about Poirier, one of, the greatest fighters of all time, but he let Poirier back into that fight. And his loss to Moicano, I think, was a fight IQ loss. Like, he ended up giving Moicano the kind of fight that gave him the chance to make his own best offensive tools work against Anthony. I think he's going to do the same with Dariush, and I think you're dead right. Now, there is the possibility that the speed differential is too much, and Santini just starts cracking Dariush in the face early and often. You pointed out that Dariush has gotten knocked out a few times recently, but he got knocked out a few times even in his prime. Like, people like Alexander Hernandez were jumping on him when he was like 30 and putting him. Santini could do that. So I'm taking the upset here as well. And this is one of those fights where if we're wrong, we might be really wrong and looking dumb on the recap. But
I ain't apologizing if I'm wrong.
No. But Dariush's grappling, especially his top game against Santini, like, I could just see, like, I could even see Santini hurting Dariush. Dariush, like, shooting a takedown, rocked, and Santini jumping a guillotine, and Dariush is just sitting on his chest, punching his skull in 15 seconds later. So I'm with you. This is our third unanimous upset pick of the card, and I think this is the biggest underdog that we've picked unanimously so far. And I actually think Dariush finishes him. Like, we've seen that as tough and as game as Santini is, there is a limit to his durability. Give me Dariush by third round submission. And I'm going to say it's a thing where it's partly his grappling and partly that Santini is beat the hell up by that point. So yeah, our third unanimous upset pick of the night. Next up on the UFC 322 main card, it is Leon Edwards versus Carlos Prates. Edwards, the 34-year-old Englishman, is 22-5 with 1 no contest overall. He is 14-4 with 1 no contest in the UFC. He is coming into this fight on the back of 2 consecutive losses, the first losing streak of any kind of his long career. He lost his title to Bilal Muhammad last July at UFC 304. Then in his bounce back fight, not much of a bounce back, this March in the headliner of UFC Fight Night 255, he got guillotined by Sean Brady in the 4th round. So looking to bounce back again at 34, looking to prove that his best days might still be ahead of him. He needs to get past Prates in order to prove it. 32-year-old Brazilian is 22-7 overall. He's 5-1 since joining the UFC out of season 7 of Dana White's Contender Series. He's already fought twice this year. He took his first UFC loss back in April, dropping a unanimous decision to Ian Gary in the headliner of UFC on ESPN 66, then came back in August and picked up a first-round buzzer-beating knockout of Jeff Neal with a nasty spinning back elbow that still probably one of the 10 best knockouts of the year in the UFC. So he's looking for his second straight win, looking to prove again that he might still be a title challenger in the future. Carlos Prates is your favorite in this fight, Keith. What do you think the line is?
I'm assuming it's much bigger than I expected to be, because the way I know your tells by now, he should be like negative 130, but it'll probably be like negative 230.
You were closer on the second guess. It is Prates minus 200, Edwards
Okay.
plus 170. And kind of echoing what you basically just all but said right there, I understand why Prates is the favorite. Edwards has lost back-to-back fights for the first time in his UFC career. He got finished for the first time in his entire career in his last outing. It's valid to ask if he's on his way down, on his way out. Whereas, Prates bounced back from a pretty competitive loss to Ian Gary by wrecking Jeff Neal on the feet, no less. And, Jeff Neal is a dangerous striker. So I get why he's the favorite. I am a bit surprised he's this big of a favorite. Edwards is a guy that I don't want to say underestimated, because, he was obviously a top 10 type talent who was just kind of working his way very, very gradually up the ladder. But it was easy to just kind of put him on the back burner and forget him, because one, he's not always the most exciting fighter to watch. He's not always the most exciting fighter to listen to talk. And because he was coming up at the same time as Bilal Muhammad, who was even more overdue for a title shot, again, it was kind of easy to forget how good Edwards had been for how long. But he is still one of the more complete, well-rounded fighters in the division. While he's lost back-to-back fights, he lost back-to-back fights to the champ, the guy who took his title from him, and a guy that might be fighting for a title within the next year. He's not losing to chumps. Like, if Edwards really is like compromised on his way to shot, maybe some really sharp people are seeing some things I'm not. Otherwise, I actually like Edwards in this matchup. When I was kind of putting together my notes on Edwards, I found myself saying something that reminds me of something you said about Hani Barcelos on our preview for UFC Vegas 111 last week, where you basically said Hani Barcelos isn't just a good wrestler for like a Brazilian guy. He's just a good wrestler for anybody. He's one of the best wrestlers in the division. Like, Leon Edwards isn't just a good wrestler for an English kickboxer. He has been for most of his career probably the best MMA wrestler from the UK period. And he's still one of the better wrestlers in the division. Like, offensively, defensively, and his willingness to embrace it, like it's made him less exciting than the, again, English kickboxer he was supposed to be, but it's also helped him seal up a lot of wins along the way up that he might otherwise not have had. Like, I remember seeing him in person. Like, the first UFC event I covered for a Sherdog was the fight night where he just basically dominated Rafael dos Anjos. Edwards, he's a smooth, accurate striker who at his best throws good volume. He's pretty defensively sound. He's a good offensive wrestler as far as like being a good clinch wrestler, as well as being capable of shooting from the outside. He's a good defensive wrestler. There are so many fighters in MMA, even fighters in the UFC, even fighters in the top 10 that are so much better offensive wrestlers than they are defensive that we almost sound like a broken record. But Edwards is good both ways. Like, he's been taken down, but he's only been taken down and kept down and had work done on him on the ground by the best wrestlers, like the best ground fighters in the division. We're talking about Kamaru Usman, Bilal Muhammad, Sean Brady. That might be 1, 2, 3 along, throw maybe Colby Covington in there, the best wrestlers in that division over the course of the last 7 or 8 years that Edwards has been in the UFC. Like, Prates has one avenue to victory, and he can do it. Like, he's a fantastic striker. He's probably a harder hitter on a shot for shot basis, but that's his route to victory. And he has many more things to worry about coming the other way from Edwards. That's why it kind of puzzles me that he's a 2-1 favorite here. I think I've picked the upset 3 fights in a row on this card. I'm going again. And I can see Prates losing to Edwards in kind of the same way he lost to Gary. Like, the striking exchanges on the feet being even a lot of the time. And Edwards, kind of like Gary did, having the clinch and the threat of the takedown in his back pocket, where even if he doesn't end up just setting up camp on the ground for like 8 minutes out of this fight, just the threat of it helps open up the striking opportunities for him as well. I've got Edwards by decision here. This is another upset pick for me, and it's one where, again, I don't even feel like I'm picking an upset. I think Edwards might give us a little bit of a you almost have forgotten moment. It won't be the most exciting fight. It won't be a sensational barn burner. It's going to be a tense, smart, measured kickboxing bout with some wrestling and clinch exchanges thrown in. But give me Edwards to win the decision here.
You got me excited for this fight. In Not that
if I got somebody excited for a Leon Edwards fight, I need a raise.
not that I yeah, more like what the outcome's going to be. not that I not that I wasn't excited anyway. I mean, it's a good matchup between two top welterweights. More like what does Edwards have left? And obviously, when I look at this card, this is not my top pick. I mean, this card is freaking loaded. But I mean, Edwards is, I'm thinking good Edwards. He's well-rounded. He's a southpaw. He can fight out of both stances. Definitely a distance striker, technically sound, accurate. Has some pop, but definitely not your traditional one-punch fight-ending striker. He feints a lot to set up his strikes. He loves to draw out his opponent's attack and then counter. He also likes to get them to move with his feints. That's obviously what we saw with the high kick win over Usman. Big kicking game. Really, obviously, he just throws kicks out there to the body and he flicks them to the head really quick. And obviously, going back to the Usman kick again, it's one of the greatest kicks in my history. He wants to work from range. That's you talk about the takedowns, like Sean Brady and Bilal Muhammad was able to take him down, but a lot of that had more to do, I think, with pressure than it did with like entries. Usman was able to take him down in the first fight, but in the second fight, Usman really struggled to get him down. He's got good head movement. He likes to close the distance himself and uses his own size and strength in the clinch. Good knees and elbows inside. So he's kind of like what I said about Angel Hill. He wants to be all the way on the outside, all the way on the inside. But when he's inside, he gets in the clinch. He looks for upper body takedowns. You mentioned he's a good offensive wrestler. He sets up his entries well with his striking. Again, going to his takedown defense. I mean, it was really good in the second fight against Usman. He was taken down by Bilal Muhammad, by Sean Brady. But honestly, I feel that says more about those guys than it says about Edwards. If he gets on top, I like his control, good ground and pound. His cardio has been inconsistent at times, but this fight's only 15 minutes, so I feel better about that. Cortez, I mean, he's so big. He's even going to be bigger than Edwards, which is surprising. Not many welterweights can say that. He's a very good striker. He can fight out of both stances. He's a bit plodding, very relaxed and poised. He likes to also work from the outside. He does well to keep his opponents at the end of his punches. He hangs his hands low, and then he suddenly just like lulls and then explodes. He can cruise at times, spending too much time picking up reads and giving rounds away. And in a 3-round fight, that's not a good idea. He also refuses to match his opponent's volume. Like, you come at him very aggressive, he's not going to be really aggressive back. He's still going to try to pot shot and find his ones. Especially when he's just throwing single strikes and loading up a lot. When he lets his hands go, the dude's a sniper. I mean, he's accurate. He really measures his opponents well. He's got a nice jab, a great cross. He whips his follow-up hooks with just ferocity, has massive power. He's got 16 TKOs. I mean, and then you see who he's knocked out. He's the only person to knock out Li Jingliang. But not just he knocked him, he buckled him a bunch of time. He ended Neil Magny with one punch. Even Meerschaert with Gary late in that fight. I mean, Gary said he wasn't hurt, but he was hurt bad late in that fight. Obviously, he had that incredible spinning back elbow knockout of Jeff Neal in his last fight. Big kicking game, good teep kicks, hard calf kicks, got a great quick high kick. I like his stepping knees. Go back to the Charlie Radke fight where he hit him with a stepping knee. He avoids strikes by rolling with punches, which I'm not a fan of. Not much of an offensive wrestler. I'm not sold on his takedown defense. We saw Meerschaert and Gary have a lot of success just taking him down. But he, as the fight went on, he's shown an ability to get back up. I'm shocked that the odds aren't closer. I think this has too many people jumping off the Leon Edwards bandwagon too early. He's 34. People acting like he's 44. If he's the guy that went on that crazy winning streak, if he's still that guy, or even a shell of that guy, he could easily, like you said, just wrestle this fight to a victory. The one thing that's concerning to me is we've seen guys fall apart quickly. And this time, in the past, and being former stars, and not even just knockouts, stars when things start going, bad, or they lose a split decision, or they, they have bad fights. You're like, well, he lost to this guy. This guy's a stud. That guy's a stud. And also then he loses again and again. And you're like, oh, man. That's where I wonder if Edwards is. Like I said, he's only 34, but I have some questions about his motivation. Is he putting that extra work in? The avenue of victory is there, as you said. Like, he could just wrestle. We saw Ian Machado Gary do that, and Machado Gary is not as good a wrestler as Edwards is. I think being ready for Edwards wrestling is something that Cortez would be more aware of than he would against Machado Gary. You don't really think of Machado Gary shooting takedowns and take someone down. So I still think Cortez might land some kicks, some jabs from distance. I think Cortez is eventually going to catch him. I think he's going to finish him. I think he's going to land something big, and we're going to see the collapse of Leon Edwards. I see Cortez gets it done. Give me Cortez by second round TKO.
Yeah, I mean, if we see it, you mentioned sometimes a fighter, like, they're just clinging to the top of the cliff, but once it slips, we just talked about Jessica Andrade indirectly. Like, she went from being competitive with the best of the world to not being competitive with the best of the world. It felt like overnight. And
we were also like, when he be like, well, she lost to Erin Blanchfield, look how good that one age. And we saw like nitpicking, and they're like, no, she lost again. I hope that doesn't happen to Leon Edwards, but it could be.
Next up at UFC 322, and at least as the card is set up as the beginning of fight week, third from the top, is a welterweight matchup between Sean Brady and Michael Morales. Brady, the 32-year-old Renzo Gracie Philly product, is 18-1 overall. He is 8-1 since joining the UFC as the outgoing CFFC welterweight champ. Since his lone career loss to date, which came against Bilal Muhammad about 3 years ago, he has 3 straight wins over Kelvin Gastelum, Gilbert Burns, and Leon Edwards. The most recent of those, the Edwards fight, was in the headliner of UFC Fight Night 255 back in March. So the good news is that Brady is on a 3-fight win streak. The bad news is that this is the first time that he's fought twice in a calendar year since 2021. But yeah, looking to reinsert himself into the title discussion, maybe put his name down as next for whoever comes out on top in the main event. The same could be said for the other guy in the cage, though, and that is Michael Morales. 26-year-old Ecuadorian, 18-0 as a pro, 6-0 since joining the UFC out of Season 5 of Dana White's Contender Series. He has already fought once this year. He faced Gilbert Burns back in May in the headliner of UFC Fight Night 256 and knocked him out in the first round. Odds on this one, your favorite is -150, underdog +120. Who are they, Keith?
I'm going to say Brady's the favorite.
You are correct. Brady is -150, Morales +120. I'm going to flip this one to you for your pick first, but I'm going to point something out first. Obviously, we ride the UFC on literally a weekly basis for problems with matchmaking, like weird bout placement, weird matchups. One beautiful thing they've done here is, instead of having another contender weigh in on deck as a backup to Della Maddalena versus Makhachev in the main event, they've simply put 2 other high-level contender bouts on the main card, so that, I mean, if, God forbid, either Della Maddalena or Makhachev sprains an ankle this week, they've got 4 other people they can bring in, and all of the potential matchups sound unbelievably good. Like, I want to see Della Maddalena versus Makhachev super, super bad. But if something were to happen to Makhachev, Della Maddalena versus Brady, Morales, Edwards, or Prates all sounds fucking fantastic to me. That's, I mean,
real
brilliant
quick.
Work by the UFC.
Real quick, say Makhachev mismatch, or Makhachev gets sick, something like that. You have those 4 guys. They all weigh in. Yeah, it's the day of the weigh-ins. It's one of those, dude,
if Makhachev misses weight, I'm not going to stop laughing till after Christmas. But yeah, go ahead.
But what happens? He gets super sick. He gets food poisoning, something he can't fight.
Yeah.
And all 4 guys weigh in. We find out during the weigh-ins. Like, nobody knows. All 4 guys make weight. They weigh in at 170 for some reason. Now you're the UFC. Give me 1 through 4. How you're off in the title shots. The first guy, this is the first guy I'm giving the shot to, then down the line.
Brady's probably next.
Okay.
Shavkat Rakhmonov might get the second call.
No. I'm talking about like that night, like these four guys.
Oh, that night?
The four guys, like so Brady, Morales, Edwards, and Cortez.
Probably Brady, Morales, Cortez, Edwards.
Yeah, I have the same exact way.
Yeah, just Edwards is coming in off 2 losses.
Coming off 2 losses, former champion is not as exciting.
Yeah.
Brady has the biggest argument, and I just want Morales over Cortez because we saw Cortez somewhat recently lose.
Yeah, but none of them are terrible.
And the other thing is, we also have Blanchfield and Cortez, who could fill in if they had to for the co-main event. If God, now that we speaking this stuff into existence, especially the co-main event, we definitely don't want to see it fall apart. The one negative about not having somebody weigh in as a backup is then you lose another fight.
Mm-hmm.
That's like the one negative.
Yeah.
But as far as this fight, this is a really good fight. Sean Brady, I mean, this is a guy that I've been on the Brady hype train for a long time. When he was on the regional scene, I was hyping this guy. Dude is so good. He's well-rounded. He switches stances a lot, constantly switching back and forth, kind of getting his opponents guessing. He's a good technical boxing, like tight boxing, faster hands than I originally thought. Has some pop in his hands. He attacks the body a lot. Big part of his game and his striking is going to the body. He's constantly on the gas and pressure. We just saw that, like, perfect example is that Leon Edwards fight. Mean calf kicks. He can close the distance and wear his opponent against the clinch. Pressing chest to chest. I've said it before. He's like a white Kamaru Usman, where he's just like, that's his world. He has no problem staying there. He can batter his foe with like close quarter striking, slicing elbows. He also will drop down, drop down to the legs and pull out his opponent's legs and get him down. But he also, from distance, can mix striking and wrestling in together well. He's a good wrestler. He loves the reactionary doubles if you press him back. He did struggle to get Bilal Muhammad down, but then he easily took down Leon Edwards. I think it had a lot more to do with Bilal Muhammad just being a freaking amazing fighter himself. If he gets the fight down, he's a sensational grappler. Great top game, good ground and pound. He is a BJJ black belt, and he's actually one of these guys. When I say BJJ black belt, he's actually one of the good ones. You know what I mean? The BJJ black belt saying that in 93 has a different ring to it than it does in 2025. His teammate Paul Feld always talks about how great his guillotine is. He also has great back takes. He took Micah Kies's back a bunch of times, but even more impressive was the Kelvin Gastelum fight. Like, he backpacked him. We kept making jokes like, if kept saying
he rides Kelvin Gastelum to work still. Like, that's how he gets from his house to Henzo Gracie Philly.
Yeah, if a referee didn't break him off, he'd still be on Kelvin Gastelum's back.
Yeah.
He's got 6 subs on his record. He subbed Jake Matthews. He subbed Christian Aguilar. He subbed Gastelum with the guillotine. He subbed Leon Edwards. So, right? He subbed Leon Edwards.
Yeah, he subbed him. Guillotined him.
Yeah. He did hate the pressure from Muhammad, but everyone does. And his cardio has drastically improved. I mean, his cardio used to be an issue in the past. Now it's a strength. Like, he's using his cardio. He weaponizes cardio. Michael Morales, he's only 26, which is scary because this guy's so good and he might not even be in his prime yet. He's a big welterweight. He just ran through Gilbert Burns. Again, take that word for it. That's an older, aging guy, but the way he did it, he's looked spectacular. Long and lanky, fast hands, super accurate, great jab. He does drop his hands a little bit and throw from his hips, but he springs into that mid-range, close the distance, and he lands power shots. He has great power. He's got 13 TKOs, just knocked out Gilbert Burns. He hit Neil Magny with that spinning elbow. Good kicking game. He does need to move his head a little bit more defensively. He's a good wrestler. I know people talk up his wrestling credentials, but I wouldn't categorize him wrestler. But he was took down Adam Fugit and won some wrestling exchanges. He's got a good fight IQ. He looked for takedowns and big flurries at the end of rounds with Jake Matthews in a fairly close fight at that time, and that helped him win. He only has one submission win, so that's something concerning, especially I'd be really surprised if he submitted Brady. But if he's on top, he's got mean ground on him. He battered Neil Magny with ground and pound. Not the best defensive wrestler, but he's super big, then he's hard to hold down so he gets back to his feet. Plus, he's also at the age where he can still be making pretty good improvements. If this was a 5-round fight, I would feel much better about Brady, his chances, because I feel like his game gets stronger as the fight goes on based on it, trying to fight at a high pace. I would feel, I don't want to say I'd lock him as my winner, but I would lock the rounds as Brady, or I don't want to say lock, but I'd feel very confident Brady wins the 4th or 5th round. But this is a 15-minute fight, so I actually think it's much tougher. I'm a Renzo Gracie Philly guy. I backed that team for a really long time. However, I'm surprised he's going to go the other way. I'm going to go with an upset. I think Morales is too big. I think he hits too hard. I think he jabs Brady from the outside as Brady starts closing distance. I think Morales lands some big shots. I say he hurts him in the first, and I say in the second round he puts him out. I think he clips him. I'm going to take Morales by second round knockout. This is I've never done this one before. I keep saying my lock. This is my bold pick of the night. I don't think a lot of people expected me to pick this one, but I'm going to say Morales is my bold pick of the night. Morales by TKO.
That is bold. We've been doing this for long enough. Again, 5 years, over 200 events, which means probably
yeah. What the hell, dude?
2,500 fights.
Why haven't we started fighting with each other and broke this marriage up?
Well, it's to the point where
you could have the kids.
Yeah. I don't get surprised too often by one of your picks, but I'm surprised by this one. I expected you to go with Brady. Spoiler out of the way, I am going with Brady on this one. But the one thing I absolutely agree with you about is if this were a 5-round fight, I'd feel better about it. And it's interesting. There's a dynamic in a 5-round fight. Obviously, a 5-round fight is great news for cardio machines, grinders, builders. But a longer fight also, in a different way, favors the more dynamic finisher because they have an extra 10 minutes to land one shot or grab one neck in transition, and the other fighter has to be defensively perfect or at least defensively sound for that much longer. I think both of those factors are at work here because, I lean Brady. I've been so impressed with him since the Belal Muhammad fight. I picked Muhammad to beat him. I said on the preview, I can't believe Brady is favored over Muhammad. That was probably the beginning of me saying I'm never picking against Belal Muhammad, in a 5-round fight until he loses. But what has Brady done since then? He has taken the weakness from that fight. He got out wrestled and outlasted, and Belal exhausted him and ended up choking him out or pounding him out. And since then, what has he done? He's won 3 straight fights that went at least to the 3rd round. 2 of them went past the 3rd round, and he's won literally every single round. And Gilbert Burns and Leon Edwards, Burns, Burns was on the downslope by the time they fought. Edwards, maybe not. We're going to find out, but those are probably 2 of the guys with the most 5-round experience in the entire division right now. And Brady beat them both in the 4th and 5th rounds. It's turned on a dime. He suffered 1 loss where a grindy cardio machine wore him out. And all of a sudden, as you put it, he's weaponized his own cardio. And that's the only thing he was ever missing. He was always such a good wrestler, such an underrated striker, and such just a smothering, suffocating top position grappler that the only real question was, he seems to be getting tired in the 2nd round of his fights. That's going to be a problem. It's not a problem anymore. I think the likely outcomes here are Morales knocks Brady out in the first 7 minutes of this fight, or Brady runs him ragged. You're picking Morales to knock him out, if not in the first 7 minutes of this fight, at least in the first 10. I'm going the other way. I could see Brady surviving some scares on the feet. Morales might hit him harder than he's ever been hit in his career, but Brady's striking continues to improve, and I'm on board now. I'm starting to feel like about him like I did about Bilal Muhammad, say 2 years ago. Give me Brady to win a decision, and it might look close on the scorecards because it's only a 3-round fight. But if my pick is right, by the end of this fight, there's no question who the superior fighter was, and it's looking very much like if this thing went another round, Morales would be toast. That brings us to the co-main event of UFC 322, a flyweight title fight between defending champ Valentina Shevchenko and the challenger, former strawweight champ Zhang Weili. Shevchenko, the 37-year-old from Kyrgyzstan by way of Peru, by way of Thailand, is 25-4-1 overall. She is 14-3-1 in the UFC, and she is 11-1-1 at flyweight. She, of course, joined the UFC at bantamweight. There was not yet a flyweight division. For all intents and purposes, it was created with her name stenciled onto, a parking spot. But yes, she's been the champ twice. She has a total of 8 title defenses, just one since reclaiming the title from Alexa Grasso a year ago. She made her first title defense of her new reign at UFC 315 back in May, winning a 5-round unanimous decision over Manon Fior. So she'll be looking for her 9th title defense overall, her 2nd of this reign. And with all due respect to the who's who of women's flyweights that she's beaten so far, this is the most compelling one. The challenger is Zhang Weili, 36-year-old from China, is 26-3 overall. She's 10-2 in the UFC. While she is 0-0 at flyweight, she is a multiple-time former strawweight champ with 4 title defenses. She fought most recently at UFC 312 back in February, where she defended her title in a dominant unanimous decision over Tatiana Suarez. She is on a 5-fight win streak overall since her back-to-back losses to Rose Namajunas back in 2021. And here she is looking to propel herself from the discussion of the greatest strawweight of all time to maybe the greatest woman ever to do this. Keith, your favorite is -125. Your underdog is +105. Who are they?
I don't know. I don't know. This one's tough. Valentina's the favorite.
And having guessed that, whom would you put as the, if I said your favorite is -125, your underdog is +105, whom would you put as the favorite? I mean, no, don't say that because that's going to tip who you're picking.
Wait.
So don't. The
you know what I would
Valentina
do? If you want me to set the line,
yeah,
I'd have this as straight pick 'em.
And it might be by fight time. It's close now. I mean,
yeah,
Zhang is just barely in the plus money, but it's Shevchenko -125, Zhang +105.
And I'm okay with her being the favorite, being that, Weili is the one moving up a weight. So obviously just the size advantage that Shevchenko should have.
Mm-hmm.
But still, this fight should be a pick-up.
Yeah. These two, there are a few things they have in common.
Being freaking savages.
Yes, being absolute savages, being two of the most physically dominant fighters in their respective divisions, over the course of their careers. Like they are both just physical specimens with muscles on their muscles. I mean, I've never interviewed Valentina Shevchenko, but I've spent, a few moments in elevators with her. She is shockingly muscular. There's nothing like manly or butch about her, but you just see her. And for what it's worth, when I saw her, she was there to corner her sister. So she was in shape, but not in camp. I'm like, she's got deltoids that I think half the men's flyweights in the UFC would kill for. And then Zhang is just an absolute brute. Another thing they both have in common is, it's not exactly a secret anymore in the case of Shevchenko, but quietly their offensive wrestling and ground game, it might be overstating it to say it's their best quality, but I think it would be accurate to say it is the quality that has helped assure their dominance over their respective divisions. Like Shevchenko has always had that in her back pocket whenever she's had anything she doesn't like on the feet from any of her opponents. And she is a smart and well-coached enough fighter that she tends to have a good game plan for him. Zhang, in her time in the UFC, has gone from just an absolute athlete and physical specimen that just sort of smashed people to somebody that has more of a well-defined skill set. And that feels weird to say because she's someone that already had a million fights before she even got to the UFC. But you look back at her regional fights in China, and it really is just her like running across the cage, lifting the other woman and throwing her into the third row. Like she's such a better technical striker than she was even when she got to the UFC. She's a better technical wrestler. Like she's always had the power. I mean, I remember a couple of years ago where she posted that picture of her like picking up Francis Ngannou and carrying him around the room.
Yeah.
Like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, I'm a 195-pound guy. I don't think I could pick up Francis Ngannou and carry him around the room. Like, what the actual fuck? Of the two, I mean, they're 36 and 37 respectively. They both have over, or you know, this will be Zhang's 30th career fight. Shevchenko has over 30 career fights. They both had kickboxing careers before MMA. Shevchenko had a lengthy one. Of the two of them, I am more convinced that Shevchenko is quietly, slowly declining physically. Like, she looks physically the same. Like, nothing has fallen off a cliff, even though, you know, she went 1-1 with Alexa Grasso. It's not like we saw her suddenly just getting rocked by everything that hit her or looking slow. It's just what I've seen change out of Shevchenko is her volume on the feet has slipped just a little bit, and her willingness to initiate the ground game, she doesn't seem quite as quick to pull the trigger. Again, they're slight things. I don't think this fight hinges on one of these women looking old overnight, but in a fight between two fighters this good, this dominant, I'm just looking at the tiniest things that the fight might pivot on. I'm going Zhang here. I think we may actually realize once they get in the cage, and especially maybe once it's past the first round, that the weight cut was starting to hold Zhang back at 115. She's never been the tallest woman in the division, but she has to be the heaviest one in terms of like her lean, in shape, walk around weight. She's just so thick and so muscular. Like I wouldn't, and these two women are about the same height. I think it's going to be surprising how not smaller than Shevchenko Zhang might look in the cage. I think this is I mean, it may not be an absolute classic in terms of just nonstop furious action, but I think it'll be a classic in terms of an extremely competitive fight between two women that are just fighting at the absolute pinnacle of the sport right now. They're about as skilled, well-rounded, physically well-conditioned and talented as we've ever seen. Give me Zhang to win. I mean, it might even be a splitter, but it more likely like a unanimous 48-47 across the board type thing. And if I had to pick, I wouldn't be surprised if it's Zhang winning the early rounds and then having to hold on against Shevchenko. But yeah, give me Zhang and Nu in just the slightest of upsets.
Yeah, dude, this fight is so freaking good. I'm so excited for this. I actually might be more excited for this co-main event than I am the main event, as crazy as that sounds, because the main event's spectacular too. But seeing both these fighters square off, like, I feel privileged.
Yeah, good way to put it.
Shevchenko, it's funny because she's never crossed over to be like a mega star or anything like that. Obviously, like, the hardcores love her and everything, but
sure,
I still feel like she doesn't get talked about enough about how dominant she is and how crazy her title run is. Let me say something that's, like I said, my bold take was that Morales beats Brady.
Mm-hmm.
You know what's even more bold? If you do, I hate like pound for pound rankings with women and men together. I just hate it. It's like you can't compare. It's obviously the same sport, but it's just different. Like how do you compare men and women? It's just different. But if you're one of those people who do, these are the greatest, top 10 greatest fighters ever. If you do a top 10 and you base it based on accomplishments, Amanda Nunes.
She and Amanda Nunes are in the top, or might be in the top 5.
No, might be. Yeah. They are. They have to be based on the amount of title fights, who they beat. Like if you rank out the girls, the women they beat at that time versus somebody else, their runs are as good as anybody's. It's like Jones, maybe GSP, and these guys. Like it's incredible. So, anyways, I don't do that. So I'm just saying, like ranking all-time greatest fighters and putting females in it, and then putting like Shevchenko 14th or something is like, what the hell? Like, you put Dominic Cruz in his, his 3 title fights wins over Shevchenko in our freaking 900. But and don't at me. Dominic Cruz had 4. Don't at me. I was just throwing a name out, name and number out there. But she's a well-rounded fighter. A lot of variety on their feet. Throws a lot of combinations with a bunch of different attacks. She's good at changing her rhythm. I've said this before. Like Max Holloway, Alex Volkanovski, Demetrius Johnson. Those guys that I know they could do that, and she's also one of them. Oh, that's another name if you're throwing out top 5, Demetrius Johnson. But her volume has dropped a little bit as she's gotten older, but she's become even more crafty to hide it, where she can still win without having a higher output. She's a good distance striker. She tries, to get in and get out and land and then move before she's countered. She's good at landing and then just sliding out of range. She uses feints really well to set up her shots. She sets traps with her feints that she's going to expose later on as the fight goes on. She likes to counter strike. She's good at picking up her opponent's rhythm and attacks. I don't think she can strike off her back foot like she used to. That's something that she was really good at doing. I don't think she can do that as much anymore. But she's still pretty explosive. She's accurate. She's got a great jab. She's good at countering kicks. Instead of like checking a kick, she just steps right in the pocket and destroys you with a shot. Everyone always talks about her striking, but her wrestling is even better. She can get takedowns from the clinch or from entries. She has fast entries. She gets on top, smother and top game. She has no issue with just controlling on top. When she lets her hands go on top, she's got good ground and pound. She is a submission artist. She isn't perfect on the ground. I mean, she struggled in her grappling against Talia Santos and in the first fight against Grasso. But I'm not too concerned about that. I am a little worried about her chin. She has taken a lot of damage over the years. Whaley is one of the most talented fighters, regardless of gender. She's a tremendous athlete, good footwork, very elusive, good output on the feet, throws a lot of combinations. When she gets in the pocket, she unloads huge shots. She's one of the hardest hitters in all of women's. I mean, despite being, in the lowest weight class. She starts Jessica Andrade. She butchered Joanna Jędrzejczyk's face up so bad in the first fight that I couldn't recognize her in a fight that I just watched her. No, I watched her enter the octagon 25 minutes earlier. Obviously, her KO of Joanna in the second fight is like an all-time great. I think it might have been KO of the year. She throws kicks in her combination, which I love. Sometimes she'll throw kicks without a setup, so that's concerning. For an elite fighter, she doesn't care too much about defense. She's willing to eat a shot to land harder shots of herself, and that's just because she just trusts her power more than her opponents. Her durability isn't perfect. Obviously, Rose Namajunas knocked her out. She was dropped a few times by Yan Xiaonan, so there's some things that are concerning. But a lot of that just because she's willing to put herself in the danger zone. She's also a really good wrestler. I mean, she turned Amanda Lemos into a takedown dummy. She took Rose Namajunas down 5 times in the second fight. She gets takedowns from the upper body or just shooting and scrambling. She showed great takedown defense against Carlos Baza and even better takedown defense against Tatiana Suarez. She's a good grappler, good back takes. She's a huge submission artist. I mean, she subs Carlos Baza to win the title. And she's got good,
so easily.
Yeah, easily dominant. And she's got she's got good cardio, and I think it's just going to be even better at flyweight. not having to cut. I think this is an incredible fight. I almost feel sorry that they aren't getting main event treatment. Like we said in the preview, we're talking about 2 of the 4 Mount Rushmore fighters. We have a consensus upset pick. I'm picking Weili also. I'm thinking Weili's gonna win her second title. I'm in the very, very, very small minority that thinks Shevchenko lost to Manon Farah, and I'm going to hate for that, but very close. And again, it's probably one of those ones, if I watch the fight 10 times, I might score 9 times for Shevchenko. But the one time I watched it live, I scored it for Manon Farah. I just, like you said, I think she's shown more signs of decline. Her output is down. She's been hurt. She struggled on the bottom. I mean, like, she had a fight. I thought she lost to Talia Santos. I thought she lost to Manon Farah. She did lose to Alexa Grasso. She had a draw with Alexa Grasso that I thought Alexa won that one. All those things, Weili has the ability to put her in all those positions. I think Weili hurts Shevchenko early. I think that causes Valentina to wrestle. I think she'll get Weili down. I don't know if she'll hold it down. I think Weili, could win some of the grappling exchanges herself. She might be the one on top. I think Shevchenko could be eating punches from the bottom. I see if Shevchenko having moments. I don't think it's like a squash match, but I'm going to take Zhang Weili to win a unanimous decision and to be the newest person to win the title in 2 different weight classes.
Outstanding. So, spring 2026, Shevchenko versus Harrison at bantamweight. I love it. With that, we come to the main event of UFC 322, a welterweight title fight between defending champ Jack Della Maddalena and challenger Islam Makhachev, who vacated the lightweight title earlier this year and declared his intention to move up. The moment of truth has arrived. This is the one we've been waiting for. Della Maddalena, 29-year-old Australian, 18-2 overall. After losing his first 2 career fights, he has won 18 in a row, including 8 in the UFC since joining out of season 5 of Dana White's Contender Series. He won the title at UFC 315 in May with a unanimous decision over Belal Muhammad. This is his first title defense. Makhachev, 34-year-old Dagestani, 27-1 overall, 16-1 in the UFC. He won the lightweight title over Charles Oliveira about 3 years ago at UFC 280, then defended it against Alexander Volkanovski twice, Dustin Poirier, and most recently, Renato Moicano, whom he defeated at UFC 311 in January. He then, again, declared his intention to move up and challenge for the welterweight title. There was a bit of reshuffling as featherweight champ Ilia Topuria moved up to lightweight and subsequently won the title. But here we are. Keith, Islam Makhachev is the favorite. What would you put the odds at, or what do you think they are?
What I think, I'm going to say he's like negative 200, but I would put it like negative 120.
Islam Makhachev minus 275, Jack Della Maddalena plus 225. Here's the thing. I think a lot of the line on this fight, which of course is being driven by whatever money's coming in. These odds makers aren't pulling it out of their ass. They're trying to find a number that brings in money on both sides. But the bettors that are driving it into Makhachev being an almost 3-1 favorite, and then analysts like ourselves, we're all thinking about somebody that's not fighting on Saturday. I mean, maybe in the building, but a lot of this comes down to how much of Della Maddalena's title win was about Belal Muhammad and how much of it was about Jack Della Maddalena. Because if we find out in Muhammad's next fight that, okay, yeah, he broke a foot in training and that hurt both his cardio and his ability to shoot takedowns from the outside, and that's one of the reasons that Della Maddalena was so successful fighting off takedowns and not getting Belal Muhammaded in their fight. That means one thing. If Della Maddalena pitched that kind of performance against a completely healthy Muhammad, and it turns out that he's just fine, that paints this fight in a whole different light, because obviously Muhammad and Makhachev are two very different kinds of wrestler. But like, if that's what Jack Della Madalena's takedown defense looks like against one of the best wrestlers in welterweight history, why would he be a 3-1 underdog against one of the best wrestlers in lightweight history? Like, I think that's a lot of what this boils down to. And again, I get why the line is what it is, because before I started watching tape, my instant lean was, yeah, Makhachev. Just something in my mind is like, yeah, Della Madalena's title win over Muhammad, you know, he beat him fair and square. There was no controversy, but I wonder if in hindsight, it's going to end up looking kind of fluky. We're going to find out something about Muhammad. I wasn't even sure I was going to favor Della Maddalena in its first title defense when I didn't know it was going to be Islam Makhachev. Like, you know, if his next challenger was going to be someone like Brady or Morales or Rachmanov, and the thing about Makhachev is he's been so dominant. Like, aside from getting plunked with one huge punch by Adriano Martins a million fights ago, how many people have even slowed Makhachev down? Something I found myself wondering, and I'm gonna make you answer this question, like when I flip this fight to you, is Islam Makhachev already historically greater and more accomplished than Khabib Nurmagomedov? Like, that's what I found myself thinking, because
more accomplished, yes. Greater, no. They did not. The one loss is always going to hold them back, and that's the thing. Like, also, I mean, they're both obviously incredibly dominant.
Yeah,
I will never put Khabib as the greatest fighter of all time, because I think you still need accomplishments and the title defenses and that. But when he was at his peak was as impressive as anybody ever seen. Like, he mauled everybody. Like, he didn't have a match.
Yeah.
He had one close fight his entire career, the Gleason Tebow fight, and I think that was a fluke. He wasn't at his best. Tebow was at his all-time best. Every other fight, he made Justin Gaethje look like he never fought before. Dustin Poirier, he made these guys look like bums.
Yep.
Connor. So his prime is probably better than anybody's I can remember, but his prime wasn't long enough.
Yeah. I mean, and I've said this a few times, but it's easy to forget that he only graduated to fighting top 10 fighters in like the last 7 or 8 fights of his career. Like, yeah, he retired like 25-0 or whatever, but a combination of being injured a few times early in his UFC run and, you know, not being the most appealing guy, you know, and just personality wise until later on. Yeah, he didn't really.
Yeah, we never got to see that fall off fight. Like, he would have had a fall off fight, like everyone does. You know, well, I guess not John Jones, but generally speaking. But you know, it's easy to assume that he'd still be the most dominant guy right now. Well, yeah. Well, that's sure he would be.
Yeah, he's not the greatest fighter of all time, but in his prime, his last 8 fights or so, he might have been the best fighter of all time. Like, just considering who he was beating and how. But like, you look at Makhachev, like I just mentioned, Khabib only really graduated to fighting the top fighters in the world in like his last 8 fights. You look at Makhachev's last 8 fights, starting with, you know, Thiago Moises, then Dan Hooker, Bobby Green, Charles Oliveira, Volkanovski twice, Poirier, and Moicano. It's pretty comparable, and he's been comparably dominant. It's natural.
Sure.
It's natural.
I wouldn't say as dominant, but yeah, I get your general point.
Well, yeah, like the first Volkanovski fight, nobody ever put a scare into Khabib like that. No. It's natural to compare their fight styles. Like, they're longtime training partners from the same country. They're as close. I mean, I feel like he's more of a cousin or brother to Khabib than like half the Dagestani guys with the same last name that get propped up as, oh, this is Khabib's cousin. Like, they're clearly like, you know, like wingmen, but there are some subtle differences in their game, obviously. But I think Makhachev, as far ago as 3 years ago was already a more diverse and technical striker than Khabib ever was. Like I think he's just a better striker. Like he's definitely a better kicker than Khabib. As dominant as he is as a wrestler, it's not as overwhelming and airtight as Khabib was. Towards the end,
or Khabib's ground and pound and his control, and
and Makhachev's takedowns and top control and ground and pound and just his Dagestani style misery against the fans, they are A+, they're among the greatest of all time, but just there's a whole different tier for Khabib.
It's Godfather 2 versus Godfather 1.
That's what a beautiful way to put it. Wow. I like that. I'm gonna
remember that shit. How many people right now are like, man, what the hell does that mean? but Godfather 2 is a all-time great, one of the greatest. If there was no Godfather 1 and you just gave me Godfather 2, I'd be like, that might be the best movie I've ever seen.
Mm-hmm.
But then Godfather 1's even better.
That's a wonderful way to put it. I've talked around this for I feel like 8 or 10 minutes now, but it really just all boils down to whether Makhachev can take Della Maddalena down or not. Or no, I take that back because I'm pretty well dead certain he's going to take Della Maddalena down. But kind of like another Australian said within the last couple of years, he better be ready to do it again because I'm getting back up, is what Alexander Volkanovski said. And damned if he wasn't right. If Makhachev takes Della Maddalena down early and just immediately starts hammering him with ground and pound, putting him in peril with submission attempts, even if he doesn't get the submission, if like Della Maddalena's just getting backpacked and face turning red and just fighting shit off for a lot of the first round, this is going to turn out like I think a lot of observers expect. But I just can't get over how good Della Maddalena was against Muhammad. And yeah, some of it was the sprawl and some of it was just the footwork made it hard for Belal to get really good entries on him. Belal's always been so good at mixing his striking in or mixing his wrestling in with his striking to hide the fact that he's not a fast twitch freak of an athlete, but just all of Belal's takedowns just seem like a done deal as soon as he's on the guy's hips because it was just such a well-timed shot. And Della Maddalena denied him that for so much of their fight. I want to take the upset, but and I wish I'd seen Belal fight again since this. But I think the move up to 170 is brilliant for Makhachev. Like, I'm sure he moved up in part just because he was already to the point where he was one injury away from fighting the Renato Moicanos of the world. Like, he would clearly well on his way to clearing out that division. And maybe he saw Della Maddalena as a vulnerable champ. But I think the move up to 170 was probably a great move for him anyway. I think it's probably going to free him up some. Hell, if we find out that he's been guarding his gas tank this whole time and he can go even harder, that's a terrifying prospect. But Makhachev, he's a different kind of wrestler than Muhammad. He's physically overwhelming. He has that thing where we were surprised to see it out of Muhammad, where when he fought Edwards and he was just picking him up and slamming him, just like finishing halfway done or blown takedowns just with sheer horsepower. I think Makhachev is going to do that a lot at 170 for however long he stays. And I think it starts on Saturday. As great as Della Maddalena is, and considering that he's still 29, he could be in the title picture for several years to come. I think Makhachev is going to be dominant on Saturday. Give me Islam Makhachev by second round submission, and I think it's going to be after a pretty lopsided first round. Like maybe 10-8 type thing where he takes him down quickly and is just on him the whole time. Just hammering him with ground and pound, threatening with submissions, and then finishes it in the second round.
This is a great fight.
oh my goodness. Yes.
After I just said that I'm more excited about the co-main event, this is still a great fight. And I don't think Belal Muhammad looked bad. I just think Jack Della Maddalena looked incredible in this last fight. I think he was the best welterweight on the planet that night. Now, is he the best welter on the planet? Saturday night, I don't know. I give him real possibility. I mean, he's a very athletic guy. He likes to fight at both stances. Good footwork, cuts angles offensively so well. He's a builder who gets stronger as the fight goes on. He's a tremendous boxer, super slick, very accurate. Just touches until there's openings, then he throws straight hard shots on the pike. He busted Belal Muhammad up. Short, tight shots, not many tells. He's a good counter striker. You better not overextend. He's going to blast you. Good head movement. He slips just a little bit to keep himself still in range to counter. He targets the body really well, which is why he gets better as the fight goes on, is because his opponent slows down. He's got good power. He's got 12 TKOs. He is open to leg kicks because he's heavy on his front foot, basically on that boxing style. And he likes to battle inside with his striking. Again, in the pocket, he can let him go. He's got some quick hands. I like his stepping knees that he was hitting Gilbert Burns with. He has a judo background. He can also shoot takedowns from distance. I doubt that he's looking to wrestle Islam Makhachev, but he's good at winning scrambles. He's a very funk style grappler. When he's been taken down, he likes like Granby rolls to get back up. Against Belal Muhammad, he showed great takedown defense. I mean, he was still taken down 3 times, he showed great takedown defense. More concerning is his takedown defense in prior fights before that. I mean, he was taken down 7 times by Gilbert Burns. He was taken down 3 times by Basil Hafez. Those are a little concerning. But again, I think Belal Muhammad's the best one of all of them, and he looked better, and he's shown that he's I think it's more what he did against Belal Muhammad. I think he's more that guy. And obviously the fact that Burns took him down 7 times also means that he got up a bunch of times. And he is he's a submission threat. Makhachev is also a great athlete. He's well-rounded. He's a southpaw. He's elusive on his feet. We talk about his kicking. I don't think he gets enough credit for his hands. I think he's got quick hands. He's tactical. He's accurate. The reason why he lands is he's constantly winning the outside leg battle to set up his power shots, tight boxing inside. He sets his shots up well with feints. He blasted Charles Oliveira with a nice right hook. His fade back left hand is really good too. You mentioned his kicking game, hard kicks to the body, incredible high kick against Alex Volkanovski in the second fight. He's one of the all-time greats at closing the distance and working against the cage. Perfect at just neutralizing guys. He did that against Volkanovski in the first fight. Good dirty boxing inside too, and that's because his opponents are so worried about takedowns and trips, and they're focusing on what he's doing with his legs, and then he's grabbing the collar tie and he's battering away. He's a great wrestler. It's silly that he said he could out wrestle Jordan Burroughs. That's one of the dumbest things ever spoken, but very good wrestler. Good upper body takedowns. He also has good entries. Like you said, he's similar to Khabib, where he doesn't really explode through the hips. He's just good at getting in and then, on a single or double leg and then cutting the correct angles. He doesn't get as many like center of the cage takedowns that Khabib did. A lot of his is against the cage, but he chain wrestles well together. He's good at just keeping the scramble going. If he gets to the fight to the ground, very good control, great top control. It's all about like winning an inch at a time. He uses those long arms to get a limb and control. He's also good at if his opponent gets back up. Like Khabib, guys gonna get back up. Islam, he's good at you get back to your feet. He's just gonna mat return you, and you wasted all this energy. That almost his weaker top control. And again, I'm not saying it's weak at all, but it's almost a benefit to him because you get back to your feet and you just get taken right back down and like crushes your spirit. He will pin his opponent against the canvas and just squeeze the life out of them. When he lets his hands go on top, he's got mean ground and pound. I mean, he butchered Bobby Green with ground and pound. Again, he's not Khabib with the ground and pound, but he's very good. And he's a slick grappler. One of the best combinations of wrestling and submissions together. He's super good at it. He's got good back takes. He has a submission threat. He subbed Dan Hooker. He made Thiago Moises look like a white belt. he subs Charles Oliveira with ease. And again, I mean, that was a little bit of a club and sub, but still, he subbed Charles Oliveira. Who can say that? And his takedown defense is, incredible. And I mean, Alex Volkanovski took him down once, but it was more like a surprise than. I think the line should be closer. I give Jack Della Maddalena a very good shot at winning because I do think he's more the guy who beat Bilal Muhammad than he is the guy who had a somewhat competitive fight against Gilbert Burns and had an extremely competitive fight against Hafez. It's also the first time in a really long time that Islam isn't going to be the big guy. Now, Islam's not going to be small. Like, he's just not going to have a huge size advantage. I know some people call him like a weight bully and everything. I don't care about that. If you make the weight, you make the weight. Jaden's boxing is off the charts. He showed great takedown defense in Muhammad. I think Islam is going to have some success with the kicks. I also think he'll get some takedowns. I think we have a war in our hands. I expect this fight to look a lot like the Makhachev-Volkanovski first fight. I think it's going to be a very close decision. I think Makhachev, based on winning very close rounds with takedowns, I'm going to lean him. So this is my second time we both did it. We're both picking the challengers to win the title, but also both fighters to win their second title in a different weight class. Give me Makhachev by decision.
All right. And that is it. The Sherdog Radio Network preview for UFC 322, Della Maddalena versus Makhachev. I have been Ben. He has been Keith. If this is your first time watching or listening to one of our previews, thank you. Welcome aboard. We hope you enjoyed it. We do our best to bring you a mix of in-depth analysis and occasional side conversations that we think is pretty unique in this space. We were pretty well on task this time just because we had 14 fights to cover. But yeah, please do like, subscribe. None of those things cost you a thing. They make our bosses happy.
We just went over 3 hours for you. You could at least comment.
Yeah.
Give us a thumbs up, please.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, give us a thumbs up. It allows us to keep bringing you this content free of charge. And drop us a comment. Keith and I both man the comment section. We would love to hear your take on these fights. I picked a ton of upsets. I think I picked upsets in literally, exactly 7 out of 14 fights. Keith not too far behind, 5 out of 14, including 4 unanimous upset picks. Our batting average on unanimous upset picks is pretty good, but if you think we left any value on the table, let us know. If you think any of these upset picks are ridiculous, let us know, because if you're right and we're wrong, we will be happy to give you your flowers on the recap. You just got to come and collect them. We are live on the Sherdog YouTube page right after the main event. Normally, Keith takes the captain's chair, but he's probably going to be at Madison Square Garden. But either I'll be running it, we'll have some sort of recap going. We'll talk about all 14 of these fights from the top to the bottom, talk about what was good, what was bad, what was surprising, what was controversial. There's always something. Talking about what's next for some of the notable winners as well as losers, and talking with you. The live chat is open that whole time, so we are taking your questions, your comments, and your hot takes in real time. We have a growing community of friends that hang out with us after the fights, and we'd love for you to be part of it. Between now and then, thank you once again for listening. Enjoy the rest of your week, and by all means, enjoy these fights.